You're on record.
First use.
Announcement is made that adequate notice of this meeting has been given and that is being conducted in accordance with NJSA 12:4-6 et sec of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Nora, please call the roll.
Mr. Perkowitz is not here. Mr. Jaskowitz?
Here.
Mr. Kaplan?
Here.
Mr. Mazzarella?
Here.
Mr. Parikh?
Here.
Mr. Reddy?
Present.
Ms. Snyder, not here. Mr. Willens?
Here.
Chairman Ira Kane?
Present.
We also have our board planner, Mr. Chadwick,
Present.
board engineer, Mr. Holloway, and our board attorney, Mr. King.
Okay, let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this is the 7 o'clock special meeting. Is there any member of the public that has any business to be brought to this board that is not on this evening's agenda? I hear none, see none. Let's go right into the applications. 2273 Robert Connors, 154 Rainbow Trail. C variance to construct a two-story addition, second-story addition, balcony over open deck, and other things.
Sir, could you raise your right hand? Do you swear firm testimony you're about to give before the board is true self you got? And for the record, you're Robert Connors, owner of 154 Rainbow Trail. All right, thank you. You're sworn, have a seat, please. Make sure the microphone. Mr. Chairman, the witness is sworn.
Okay, so you need variances for a front yard on Longview Road of 40 foot is allowed, 3 feet is proposed.
Correct.
Yards and courts, open decks, pardon me. 19% is allowed, you're proposing 35.83. Building coverage, you're allowed 15, you're proposing 2706. And impervious coverage, you're allowed 30 and you're proposing 44. Why don't you tell us about you have 7,422 square feet in a R3 zone, which is a 15,000 square foot zone, right, Mr. Chadwick?
Yeah.
So you got a substandard lot.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your project?
Sure. My wife and I moved to Parsippany about 5 years ago, bought this house, fell in love with the community. It's really hard to find a lake house on a real road that wasn't a big hill or was a million steps down or a million steps up. And it's the house has a lot of curb appeal. It was the original leasing office for the lake community, and we loved it. The problem with the house is it was built in 1920 and it's cut up a little funky, and it's I know the lot is severely undersized, but it's actually one of the larger lakefront lots in the neighborhood. So we bought it with the idea someday we want to expand our family, and when that happened, we would probably have to try and build an addition to the house. That did happen. I have a 2-year-old son and a 8-month-old daughter, so we decided this would probably be the perfect time to tack a giant addition on this house. So, yeah, like I said, we love the area, we love the township, we love the community, and we'd like to stay there. Just the house as is wouldn't function for a family, a growing family.
So tell us about the construction, what you're going to do, what...
Yeah, so, as you said, the setbacks are an issue, but what we're looking to do really is build a new 16 by 24 approximately foundation to expand the kitchen on the first floor. And then above that would be 2 additional bedrooms, an expansion of the existing bathroom upstairs. One of the bedrooms would be a master with an ensuite. So, it would be 1 additional full bath and 2 additional bedrooms. Couple other small things inside, just reworking some of the layout, but that's the main purpose of the addition.
How big will the house be when you finish?
Total usable,
Just square feet.
yeah, square footage would be about 2,200, 2,300.
What's it now?
About
Says
14, yeah,
It says 1577 on the zoning report.
right. Yeah, I think.
So everything is really a second-story addition.
It's a second story. Like I said, there's an expansion on the first floor.
Yeah, a little bit.
For it's mostly for kitchen.
What about that back deck? That's a pretty good-sized deck.
Yeah, so
I
the
mean,
back,
the reason I'm asking these questions, you're way over.
right. I do understand that. So the back deck, we will be losing the majority of our deck to build a new foundation. If you, I don't know if you have the plan in front of you.
I do.
So basically, that foundation will be squaring off our existing kitchen to the garage, and the new structure will be over there, which eliminates about 2/3 of our existing deck.
Okay?
So, we'd like to bump that deck out a little bit, and the wrap around the back was, I don't know if you can see the picture of the back of my house on the front page of that. I have that weird little window sticking out of the back of my home. We'd really like to turn that into a door. I have a paver patio over that area already. So what we'd like to do is run that over, possibly,
To connect up.
yeah, just to kind of connect those 2 spaces.
What's the deck gonna be made
I mean, it'll be pressure treated frame. We're still debating
of?
on.
Rain can get through it.
Rain can get through it. I think on that section, I might, I know Trex makes a product now, that has like a rain diverter. It diverts it into, a gutter on the left-hand side. I do have a drain.
Well, your whole lot drains into Rainbow Lake, right?
Yeah, all the everything slopes right down into the, and I have like a 4.5 foot, fieldstone retaining wall right offside of that patio.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see it, there's kind of a tree in the way, but that's all in a raised garden bed, and there's a 4-foot drop from that garden bed to my backyard, which is still sloped, but it's pretty gradual, but everything in my house runs right off to that.
The addition's gonna match up with the existing architecture?
Yes, yes, so, if you see on the second page, I'm sorry, the 4th page of that plan, see a quick mock-up. We are trying to keep it in
Plans, and I don't
the
have,
style of the home.
we don't have
The neighborhood.
We don't have the plans.
Oh,
That's
okay.
all right.
Yeah, so it's, right now, we have like kind of a slope cave. It was converted attic, it's had an addition and an addition and an addition. And, so we're planning over the garage, doing like a gambrel style roof, something that keeps with the architectural theme and something in keeping with the 1920s, feel. We actually searched around, and it took us a long time to find an architect willing to work with us that didn't say just rip the whole roof off and turn it around and basically demolish your house, because it doesn't make sense. And, we found a woman who works out of Montclair that does a lot of restoration work on Victorians and specific period style homes to work with us on this project. So we've been happy with her ideas, and we think it keeps to the nature and the and why we kind of fell in love with the home in the first place. It's like I said, it's got great curb appeal, and it's one of the favorites of the neighborhood.
Have you discussed the additions with your neighbors at all?
I have, yeah. Our 2 neighbors next to us are pretty excited. They're excited to see younger families moving into the neighborhood, and the family that lives across the street from me, the woman who lives there, said, I've always thought, why didn't they put anything over the garage? We have so much unused space.
So you've had no issues, or your neighbors have no issues with runoff going to their
No,
property, because it
no.
all goes to...
Everything goes straight down, yeah, and, I have a pretty good amount of room in between homes. So this is, I do have that Longview, road, that runs down. Technically, it's the front of my home, but it kind of faces the side, it faces my neighbor. So I probably don't have a house, within 30 feet at least on either side of me, 30 to 40 feet probably. So yeah, there's been no runoff issues.
Great.
Looking at the variances you're looking for, Robert,
Mhm.
we'll love to have young families liking the neighborhood wanting to stay.
Right.
Couple questions that I
Sure.
don't quite understand. Existing right now, as far as the front yard deck, it's a long view, that doesn't exist now, is that correct?
The front yard deck, Longview Road. So technically back, like, running along the back of my house, it does not exist. I'm not really sure why it's listed as front yard deck. It would be in the
That's what I
back.
meant.
Yeah, it would be in the backyard. It's on the lakeside. Like I
Okay.
said, my house is kind of orientated the wrong way. There used to be a cul-de-sac where my neighbor's house is.
Okay.
Like I said, it was a model home for the lake community, and it was the original leasing office, so there was a big cul-de-sac. Eventually, the cul-de-sac got filled in, built the home, so my front yard is really kind of my side yard. The front yard is the Rainbow Trail side.
Do you have significant vegetation around the house that kind of shelters from the street view, or?
Yeah, I actually have a lot. I've got about a almost 20-foot rhododendron in front of my house,
Mhm.
and,
So
some
the-
trees, shrubbery, I have boxwood right in front.
So the negatives of this project being the impervious coverage and a couple of others, is kind of offset by the uniqueness of the house, the fact that you do have side yards that,
Right.
and, it's your dream home, right?
Yeah, basically,
And you
yeah.
want to stay in Parsippany.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Any other questions
I
by
have
the
a
board?
question regarding just the observation on the plan, the survey. The fireplace and the shed is extending into the right-of-way? It looks like it goes over the property line.
Right, so,
There's a set of stairs there within the right-of-way, I know this
yeah,
area.
so my property exceeds well beyond what my actual property lines are. Like the property that I maintain, this tax map was written up in 1927, well before all of this
You
stuff.
maintain the right of ways.
Right, exactly,
And you've
so,
encroached on, is it a real fireplace or is it a?
no, it's like an outdoor fire pit.
Use it.
They're existing.
Use it.
Yeah, it does get used, yeah.
What do you mean it does get used? Once a year or?
Oh, no, well, now with little kids, it doesn't get used much, but when we first moved in, maybe once, twice a month, we would use it, the outdoor, I mean, only in the summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any improvement to the roof line drainage will be accounted for?
Yeah, everything right now already ties into underwater, that brings it from the front, or underground drainage that brings it to the front. Out
So
to
there
the-
won't be any major changes or?
No. Everything will, I mean, we'll have all new gutters and roofing when this is done, but everything will re-tie back in to the existing drainage for the home.
Any other questions by the board? Any members of the public have any questions of this witness on the testimony given this evening? Hearing none, seeing none. Nothing else you'd like to add, is there?
No, I think that's it.
Any members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to the application, in support of the application? I hear none, seeing none. Quick, comment?
Sure,
We should
looks
approve?
really good. You're improving a house that you want to stay in, and your neighbors seem to be happy, no one's complaining, and you have no water issues, so I'll be voting for it.
Volunteer to frame a resolution?
Go, Scott, you're up.
Okay, application 22:73, Robert Connors, 154 Rainbow Trail, Block 109, Lot 27, Zone R3, recommend granting a C variance to construct a two-story addition, second-story addition, balcony over deck, expansion of the open deck with stairs and two AC units contrary to sections 430-35, columns 410, 13, and section 430-10-1, or I.
Second.
Any discussion, nor call the roll?
Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Kaplan.
Yes.
Mazzarella.
Yes.
Parikh.
Yes.
Ready.
Yes.
Willing.
Yes.
Iraquez.
Yes. Results of variance is granted. We'll memorialize this at our May meeting, and you'll be free to proceed at that.
Good luck.
First meeting in May.
Great, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Be prepared.
Nora, was Levine carried for another?
Levine is being carried to May 3rd.
Oh, okay. Motion to carry application 82 to May 3rd without further notice and with whatever extensions are necessary?
So moved. Second, Jaskowitz.
They
Well-
actually will be noticing, they did not run the ad in the...
Oh, okay, so with notice. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so now we go on. Application 2311, Danish Jog, 765 Park Road. See variance to construct a new two-story, single-family addition.
Sir, could you raise your right hand? You swear affirm testimony about before the board is true self you got? And for the record, you're Dinesh Jog?
Yes.
And you're the owner of the subject property? Okay, thank you. You're sworn. Have a seat. Please speak into the microphone, Mr. Chairman, and your witnesses.
Thank you very much, members of the board, for giving me an opportunity to present my case in front of you.
Okay, well, just give me a chance, okay?
Yeah.
Give me a chance. You need, a variance is for lot area, 15,000 is the lot, 12,000 is proposed. Front yard dwelling, 40 is allowed, you're proposing 32.5. Front yard shed, 40 is allowed, 22 is proposed. Maximum height, 35 feet, you're proposing 36.67. Yards and courts, shed, 6 feet, side yard, you're proposing 5 feet. Building coverage, 15.83, and you want 24.1, but there's a note here about the sheds. And impervious coverage, 30 is allowed and 32.3 is proposed. Why don't you proceed with your testimony?
My name is Dinesh Jog.
Could you please speak into the microphone?
Oh,
Thank
sorry.
you.
I've been a resident of Parsippany for 23 years, and I've been in this house for, since 2003. Basically, the existing house is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. And we plan to build, like demolish the existing house completely and rebuild a new house so that it becomes our forever home. And our kids who have moved out of the house are planning to come back to the region, and we want them to invite them into our house to spend some time with us as we go forward. One of the things, so basically our, what we propose is like we completely demolish the existing house and build a 2-story structure there, 2,800 square feet approximately. That's the current plan. In the same location, basically the front yard setback will match the existing. So the the building line will be the same as existing. The side yards and the backyard of the main building are in compliance with the coding requirements. Unfortunately, this is an undersized lot, it's in a zone R3, which requires a 15,000 square feet. The lot size is 120 by 100, which makes it a little difficult and will not meet our requirements and still comply with the zoning requirements. So what I'm seeking is, this results in a little bit of a overage on the building coverage, and also a little bit on the impervious layer coverage. So I'm requesting the board to consider these deviations and grant us application, like approve this application for variance to build a new house.
Really, the only area you need a variance for is a minor thing on impervious coverage, which is very minor in my opinion. But the building coverage is pretty significant.
Yeah.
Would you explain it to the family? You said they are coming back to live in the house? Or you
No,
want to have a
they're
conversation?
moving into the area. My son currently lives in California, So he is transferring to New York, so he will be living somewhere around the area. And we would like to, he likes to spend some time with the parents and everything. So,
Okay, they come to visit.
yeah, I mean, he will be living within the Parsippany area, that's what we are hoping.
So you're building a nice two-family home?
No, single family.
Okay. Very good.
No, it's just to accommodate the children who will be visiting us, we hope that will be visiting us.
How many bedrooms will you have?
Pardon me?
How many bedrooms?
Right now I have 3, we propose like 5 bedrooms.
And how many bathrooms will you have?
We have
New
one
house.
bathroom, we have 1 bathroom right now, and we intend to, I think like we have proposed 4 bathrooms for this.
Does that include the one in the basement?
The basement is only like a, it's not a finished bathroom.
What does that mean?
Half bath? Yeah, it's a half bath, like, there are 2 full baths and the rest are half baths in the same upper levels. And the basement, it's just a wash area and that kind of thing. So,
Toilet and bathroom.
yeah. Basement will be unfinished at this point.
What are your plans for the rest of it?
We have a living room, so basically.
No, sorry, the rest of the basement. You said it's unfinished at this point?
Yes.
What
We
about the
don't
next
know.
point?
Future, we don't know, but I build things in my spare time, so I'd like to use that to build basically robots and things like that. I used to coach robotic teams around Parsippany. I would like to continue that once I retire.
So just to get this straight for the resolution, you're proposing 2 full bathrooms, and then the rest will be half bath,
Half bath.
and that'll be with just a sink, correct, and a toilet.
Shower, there will be shower.
Okay, that makes it a
That's
full.
not a half
That
bath,
makes it a
then.
full bathroom, I'm sorry.
So it's a full
Then it's a
bathroom.
4 full bath in the,
Every bathroom will have a shower and a toilet and a sink.
yes,
Every one.
yes.
Including the basement?
No, the basement
Basement's
is
the half bath.
Basement is a half bath.
So the 3 upstairs will have shower, toilet, sink.
4 upstairs, sorry, again.
Take your
I'm
time, don't worry about it.
Speaking from memory here.
It's okay.
So it's 4 bathroom upstairs, 1 bathroom at the first floor, and 1 half bath. 1 half bath in the first floor, 1 half bath in the basement. So it's 4 full baths, 2 half baths.
Okay.
That keeps changing.
It shows in the plan.
Tell me about this elevator.
That's a future elevator. Again, we don't plan to install it right now, but we want to make accommodation. Again, as I said, like, this is going to be our forever home. And in case we have mobility issues in the future, we want to be able to install some elevator in there.
So do you install the shaft and seal it off? How does that work?
Yes, so
Yeah.
basically, we would install the shaft and provide flooring at each level, which can be removed later on if we need to install the elevator. And for the record, I'm a structural engineer by trade, so I planned this myself.
It's impressive.
And there's only 1 kitchen.
There's only 1 kitchen, yes, sir.
So the regular residents are gonna be just you and your wife?
Yes,
How many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids. 1 is in college and 1 is working.
Well, it looks like a lovely forever home, built. The sizing, you've wrestled with this coverage issue, right?
Yes.
There's nothing you can do
We
about it.
tried to make it smaller, so that it's manageable in our old days, but at the same time, like, we had to accommodate, like, we have visiting families from India during summer sometimes, and we also have kids. We hope that their children will spend some time with us, so to accommodate this, like, we want to build it.
The storm inlet is located in the front on Park Road. Would you be tying in the roof drainage from the house to the inlet?
To the inlet, no. Right now, like, it all drains into the site is sloped slightly towards the back, and there is the side yard, so it drains into the side yard and basically goes into the...
Okay, that would be, the proposal would be subject to a plot plan review by the engineering department.
Yes,
And they're gonna go over the grading and the drainage and all those issues with you on that.
understood.
Get the relative to come in here.
John, you have any more questions?
No.
You're okay down there, sir? Okay? Questions on either side? Members of the public have any questions of this witness on the testimony given this evening? I hear none and see none. I would appreciate if you're here, please find a seat, because that's the only way I'm gonna know if we exceed the capacity of the room. So find a seat. I don't want anybody standing up. There's some seats up here in the front.
We won't call him if you sit there.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fine. No, I think, like I said, my piece.
Okay, sounds like a nice place. Any member of the public who wishes to speak in opposition to this application, in support of this application? I hear none and see none. What does it sound like, guys? Decent application?
Yeah, pretty decent one for the need of the family. I'm in favor of it.
Someone frame a resolution, so...
Was this meeting supposed to start at 7:30?
What did you do?
Excuse me, you're interrupting us. Please sit down. Thank you. This is not the 7:30 meeting. This is the 7 o'clock meeting, okay?
So sorry.
Have a seat.
Excuse me. Thank you.
I'm sorry if I'm cranky, but I'm not feeling well, so I don't want to start off on the wrong foot.
It was a 7 o'clock meeting. Please forgive me, sir.
Would you like me to frame the resolution?
Yes, please.
Application number 2311, Dinesh Jog at 765 Park Road, Block 198, Lot 1, in the R3 zone. I recommend that the board grant the C variance to construct a new two-story, single-family dwelling and legalize a shed contrary to section 430-35, columns 2 and 4, for dwelling and shed, 10, 12, 13, and section 430-10C.
Second ready?
Any discussion? Nora, call the roll?
Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Kaplan.
Yes.
Mazzarella.
Yes.
Parikh.
Yes.
Ready.
Yes.
Willens.
Yep.
Hurricane.
Yes. Result is a variance is granted. We will memorialize this at our next meeting, and you'll be free to proceed. Good luck.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Motion to adjourn the 7 o'clock meeting?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, it's only 7:27, so we got 3 minutes. Anybody needs the facility, this is your opportunity.
Fine.
Oh, good, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad
You're on
to hear-
record.
I'm very relaxed now.
Okay. Announcement is made that adequate notice of this meeting has been given and is being conducted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 et sec of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. We will, have the roll call next. Wait a minute, we have a roll call? No?
Sorry about that. Mr. Jaskowitz.
Here.
Mr. Kaplan.
Here.
Mozzarella.
Here.
Mr. Parikh.
Here. Yeah.
Mr. Parikh.
Here?
Here.
Ready. Mr. Ready.
Still present?
Mr. Willens.
Here.
Chairman Hurricane.
Present.
We also have our board planner, Mr. Chadwick, our board
Present.
engineer, Mr. Holloway, and our board attorney, Mr. King.
Present.
Nora, I'm gonna ask you the $64 question. What's the capacity of the room, Nora?
I'm not totally sure off the top of my head.
I think it's on the outside door, isn't it?
It may be.
Oh, there's a real gentleman. He's gonna look for me. Thank you.
It might be over here in the corner. Indeed. Yeah. Send me down to my desk.
It's probably like 200 some odd.
Got it.
It's 150. It still is. What are you gonna do?
Gotta call the meeting. Think we have our seats.
Guys in the back, there's some seats up here if you want to just grab them.
Yeah, please come and sit down. I wanna make sure everybody's got a seat. No. Did you get a number?
Yeah, it's, Nora, do you agree it's 137?
Correct. 136.
136.
Anybody made a comment?
And there's some people from other applications, Mr. Chairman, so I think once we go through the other applications, it should thin out a bit, maybe.
Well, we'll go ahead with the other applications, but at the point of, if we can't have it, we can't have it. Okay, resolutions.
We
Are there
have,
resolutions here?
no
No
resolution.
resolutions, okay. Application 2275, Gavin and Valerie Spector, 6 West Heading Place. I think this is a carried from the 8th
Correct.
of March, and if I remember correctly, this is a rather extensive, project.
And, Mr. Chairman, the last time we were here, we had asked for,
Is there seats there?
some drawings that were submitted to see how the neighbor behind's house would be affected by the construction.
Did we get new drawings?
Yes, we did. Here's
That's right,
These are all the new drawings.
you guys can sit down.
Is the neighbor that is uphill from you here,
Uphill,
the one that, Castle? No.
no, he's not here.
Have you spoken with them since the last meeting?
Yeah, we went to his house, we met directly with him, we broke out the measuring tape, we talked to him about it, and that's how our architect came
Okay.
up with these drawings.
Is that the gentleman that was here last time? Was that the same guy?
Yeah.
The smoke, okay.
He was supposed to be here tonight. He came in today to see me. He said he was coming.
Yeah, I just remember what he spoke about.
And by the way, just for the record, you were sworn previously, you're still under that same oath?
Okay.
So what did we find about the question about the house behind?
This is the house beside number 6.
Beside, okay, I'm sorry.
Owned by Mr. Jason Castle, who is a gentleman who questioned the height.
Microphone.
Sorry. Who questioned the height of the building, and he was concerned that it was cutting off his view.
Uh-huh.
At that meeting, you requested that I present another drawing, which is the one that's in front of you now, showing the side elevation of his home, including a photograph, I hope you've all got the photograph as well, which is this one. He is right at the front boundary with his home. He's right on the front boundary, on the street boundary. He's as far forward as he can go. We have elected to go as far back as we can possibly go. In fact, the rear wall of our proposed home is 3'6" from the rear boundary. The reason it's 3'6" is because there's a row of trees along the fence, which we would like to keep. So that does allow us to keep the trees along the rear boundary. As far as the area that is supposedly blocked, you'll notice that there is on the drawing an elevation of his home in its position on the front boundary. And then superimposed on that, I've shown a dotted outline, which is the proposed new home to be built there. The interesting thing here is it is a fair bit lower. It's about almost 6 feet lower than his house, albeit it's obviously down the hill anyway. The windows that he's concerned about, on the upper level, there are 3 windows. We only cover one of them. And bear in mind, this is at right angles to his wall. The fact of the matter is, we have pushed so far down the site that there's actually 17 feet between our wall and his. So given that, this is a little hard to see perhaps, but the view from the last window on his wall is actually not really covered because you can see past the roof on our side, being that it's 17 feet away.
Can I just ask a quick question, please?
Sure.
So Peter, being that the person who had concerns is not here, but they met, are we allowed to ask them and get a answer how the meeting went, and if he is still, or is that like a hearsay thing, or?
It's not here.
It would be hearsay, but I mean, they're under oath, so,
Is it fair to ask them just to get something on the record that,
I would.
okay? Did your neighbor seem to come away,
Well, I'll go one step further than that.
Sure.
I spoke to him this morning.
Okay.
He called me.
Yep.
Speak of
There he is. There we go.
I won't say devil.
Just talking about you.
Yes.
It's up to you.
So far.
So I guess
Okay.
he can speak to himself now.
Yep. Because my concern, I like the house for me personally. I thought everything was good. He had concerns, he articulated real well.
Right.
So I guess if he comes here and says he's good, for sure, for me, it's good. It could still be good, but if he's okay with it, then I think, for me, there's like nothing to talk about.
Okay.
What do we hear from him?
Yeah?
Come on down. All right.
So we're opening up to.
They okay,
They okay,
No photos.
And just for the record, what's your name?
Jason Castle.
Okay, Jason Kessel.
Jason, you had a meeting with the applicant and the applicant's, architect.
I did,
And were you
yes.
satisfied with what they presented to you?
What we saw was more of an extension of the meeting that was had before. The concerns that I had, and I brought a copy for the gentleman. And then also,
Oh, this is not the time to give to us.
Yeah, not yet.
oh, okay.
Can't give it to us.
Okay, no problem.
Just between you two, and if it, and,
Okay. Well,
and
take
I'll
that.
be honest with you, if this issue between you guys is not over, I don't want to hear about it tonight.
No, I don't think.
You guys have to resolve it and come back here with a resolution. All right, so,
I think we can probably resolve any issues. There were just concerns that we had, and I think that the architect could probably put them on the record and address them, and we might be good tonight. If not, then we'll go back and discuss. But I only had an opportunity to see this today, which was a little frustrating. So the concern that we had was, one, the setback is not in the, it's not in the style of that street. And on our side of the street, the setback is 4 feet. On the opposite side of the street, the setback is 1.5 feet. And this setback being nearly 12 feet is kind of out of character. The other issue that we had was the entirety of our backyard, our entire view is eclipsed by the setback and the fact that the rear of the home is only 3 feet from the property line.
so what are we gonna do about this? What are we gonna do about this?
What can we do?
Well, the plans
Well,
we're looking at
I'll
don't.
tell you how this goes, okay?
Sure.
They make a presentation.
Okay.
We ask them questions. Once the questions are all over between members of the public and members of the board, then we ask if there's any people who object or are in favor of the application. At that time, you have three choices. You can get up and say, I'm in favor of it.
Okay,
You can get up and say, I'm against it.
okay.
Or you can go outside and get yourself a soda. Okay?
I
So-
can choose two of those three. Okay.
All right? So, should we proceed with the application, and then, once this is all over, you can make your presentation? Because I don't want to make this presentation now, when we're still hearing the testimony from the applicant.
Oh, I apologize, sir. I only came up.
No, I thought, based on what I first heard, first of all, I didn't think you were here, and second of all, I thought this had all been resolved.
Right, if you said everything's good with me, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Sure.
If it's
Okay.
not good with you, then it's a bigger
So-
conversation.
Well, so here's what I would request then, because the first time, and the architect can attest to this, the first time I saw this was today.
Okay.
You all got, if you would just oblige me for 1 second, sir. You all got this 10 days in advance. We had a conversation. I thought I would at least have some advance notice, but I wasn't given at least that courtesy. And I think that we could probably work some of the things out, but the gentleman came to my home, my wife made him coffee, we saw everything, but that was the only conversation we had before having a conversation this morning.
Yeah, I think we gotta carry this case.
So what the chairman's saying is to give you more time to resolve.
I don't want to resolve it here tonight. I don't
I
have time.
understand, sir.
Okay? I don't have time. I got a room full of people.
I understand.
Which may be more people than I'm capable of handling. And at this point, when can we hear this case?
So can I just try one thing to make sure? The plans that are being presented, that we're looking at, supposedly approved with this, okay? You have not resolved some issues you have in them.
That is correct, sir.
Okay, so that issue's still open, that's what the chairman was getting at. We're not gonna hear this case without issue on the floor. You guys get it resolved, you come back to us.
Is it possible?
Also, just because you are objected to it, doesn't mean we are going along with your objection.
I understand that,
Right,
sir.
just to get that on the record.
I wholeheartedly understand, and I appreciate everything that you all do.
Okay.
Would it be possible for us to step out, because we haven't had an opportunity to speak?
You can do whatever you like, but I'm carrying this case to another
So
meeting.
what they're gonna do is give you more time, so you
Understood.
can work it out, and if both parties
What do
agree,
you got,
it
Nora?
just makes it easier next time.
June 7th.
Thank you, sir.
June 7th?
Yes.
Okay?
With all extensions?
Members of the public, this case is being carried to June 7th. If you're here for this case, this is the only notice you're going to receive. There's no further notice required. You will give us an extension through June 30th. And, do I have a motion to that effect?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
You'll provide those extensions, correct?
See you on June 7th.
Yes. Yes, you'll, just on the record, you will give those extensions?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
But this will be easier, because if you resolve it, you come here, it's just cleaner.
Okay.
And you don't, if there's issues that you don't know what the board could do. It could be favorable one way or the other way.
I'm flabbergasted that this wasn't done before tonight. Okay, I'm just flabbergasted, I'm sorry.
I am as well, sir, but the first opportunity.
No, look, I'm not saying to you, I'm not
See you
saying
June
to you,
7th.
okay? I'm saying to the applicant, I'm surprised this was not resolved before tonight. Nora,
Yes.
Greenfield, I looked in my file drawer, I did not see that case. Was it?
He has additional information tonight, which you have in your package.
Additional information tonight's package? Is this from tonight? Okay, let's call case, 2266, Robert Greenfield.
So you were previously sworn, correct? And you're still under that oath, you understand that? I think you have a seat, please talk in the microphone.
Ain't many people leaving. More coming. You can proceed. You can proceed with your testimony. You were bringing us additional information?
Yeah, so basically, last time I was here, there was an issue with the dimensions. I had the company that's gonna build the shed give me an updated drawing with newer dimensions. Basically, it's keeping everything the same. The only thing that's changing is the length. So again, we're going, 10 by 10 by 40. As opposed to last time, which was, I think, 10 by 12 by 40.
What is the purpose of this shed?
Storage.
For what?
So he has a company, it's an electronics company or a computer company, and you store some
Stuff.
materials in that shed?
Materials, supplies.
And there currently is a shed, but you're going longer on that shed. It's
Yes.
on the side of the driveway?
So, I have a corner lot, it's on the corner of Lake Shore and Carlstadt, and that, lot has two driveways, one coming off of Lake Shore, one coming off Carlstadt. The one coming off Carlstadt has a shed. It's currently there, bit of an eyesore. Basically, what I wanna do is take that down and put up, a longer unit. Same height, same width, just longer.
Did we agree to a modification of the setback, side yard setback at the last meeting to 3 feet? Is that correct?
Yes.
That's existing, isn't it?
Currently, it's about 3 feet 6 inches.
Okay. And, if I'm repeating the question from the last meeting, have you discussed this with your neighbors? Do you have any
Yeah,
neighbors have any problems?
The two most affected direct neighbors are actually here tonight. I've explained to them what I'm looking to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I've not gotten, or at least in my feeling, I don't feel there was any objection, but if there are, by all means.
But didn't we have some kind of information that the business was being run out of the property?
I was asked if I was running stuff out of there, but it's just for storage. The lady that's not here tonight asked me if I was gonna work out of there, and the answer is no.
So if we went on and looked at your business address, it would not be the address that's under consideration now?
Oh, it's listed there, but that's just for mailing purposes. Do I have people coming to the house? No. I don't know if that's the question.
No, the question is the business being run out of the house?
The bookkeeping is, working on some computers is, but
So
as far
that's kind of yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Customers?
How come the zoning officer never questioned that?
I don't know.
You say there's no employees coming to this property,
it's just me,
just you.
just me.
I mean, I have no problem if you're just storing some material and you have an office in your house, that's, in my opinion, is not running a business out of your house. Running a business out of your house is if you have people coming 6 times a day to pick up goods, and that's not happening. So, for all intents and purposes, the neighborhood probably doesn't even know you have a business, right? You get an occasional delivery in the garage, is that, no?
It's working from home. That's what we all do.
Well, yeah, but if you read the rules and regulations, it's not that simple.
I get it.
Not that simple.
But functionally, it's working
Functionally,
from home.
yes.
But you also go off-site to a lot of customers, I would think, right?
If needed, yes.
What are gonna be the colors of this shed?
Probably beige.
What color's your
Neutral
house?
color,
What color's your house?
yellowish beige,
Any reason they can't be the same color?
not a very good color.
Good answer.
We might want you to change their house color.
I'm working on that.
The other thing is, this thing's 40 feet long with no windows.
I'm sorry?
This thing is 40 feet long with no windows. Do you think you should put some windows,
Yeah, I'll put some windows in there.
I mean, just to get light in there?
I'll put some lights in there too.
Yeah. Okay. It's pretty ugly.
So the original problem was the width was shown as 12 feet 6 inches, but now it's been
10
corrected
feet,
to
yes.
10 feet.
So he's made that modification at our request, right?
That's correct. And the driveway is 10 feet, I believe, so it would fit right into the driveway where the existing shed was.
And I'll put some windows on it.
Well, I'm just a little,
Give it a
still
little
have a question.
residential.
So you have to have a bigger shed to store your stuff for your business, but you don't do business on it.
I need a bigger shed so I can stop paying extra space storage for keeping stuff there.
So you're now paying a separate location for stuff for your business.
I've been, yes.
Okay,
But
now
it
you
just
bring it
doesn't
all
make
there, but
sense
you're
to-
not running the business out of it.
I'm sorry?
You're bringing it there, but you're not running the business out of there. You
I
just
keep
store
my-
stuff.
I keep my inventory there.
Davey, a number of years ago, we had an application for a man who had a couple of ice cream trucks.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you want to talk about running a business out of a house in the lower Lake Hiawatha, it was clearly, without a doubt, running a business, because he did everything, and he stored all this stuff, and he kept his trucks on the property, okay? And when we tried to question it, you couldn't, there was nothing you could do. This is de minimis compared to, very de minimis. Any other questions by the board? Any members of the public have any questions on this witness, of this witness on the testimony given this evening? I hear none.
To the left.
Please come up. Please come up. You have a question?
Well,
Come up and use the microphone. You got to identify yourself.
I have nothing to do with it.
You have nothing to do with him?
However,
Is it on this application, ma'am?
no, I just have a question for him. Why would you want windows in your shed so people can see what you have in it?
I'll have
All right, ma'am, for the record, excuse me, ma'am, for the record, can you state your name?
You gotta say it into the
G-
microphone, please.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's.
Jeannie Kraft.
Geanne.
Geanne.
Okay. And your, where do you live, your residence?
It has nothing to do with him, it was just a.
I know, but.
But
it's
but
for the
this is a
record.
formal proceeding. This is not, Sunday at the ladies' club, okay? You wanna just withdraw, you wanna withdraw your withdraw your question? You don't wanna ask a question? Thank you.
For those of you in the audience may notice, the chairman's in a good mood tonight, so.
Slightly better than usual.
Let's move in.
Be careful.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Okay, all right. Any other any other members got questions? Please come forward. Don't talk from back there. Come up and use the microphone. First thing is your name and your address.
Robert Fioretti, adjacent neighbor. The only question I had, because
How do you spell Fioretti, I'm sorry?
Fioretti.
Thank you.
In the last meeting, we were talking about stormwater runoff and different things, and since this is, we only get our notice one time, we don't get any paperwork after that. I was just wondering if there was any, adjustments to the plan or the letter from the engineer. If that's something that I should have to get publicly, go to the engineer and ask for that.
If we approve this, it'll be subject to the township engineer stormwater approval.
Yep.
If whatever has to be,
I'm
that'll.
uphill anyway, so it's not really.
There is just for the record, there was a January 13th, 2023 letter from the town engineer requiring certain, things to be done with regard to the drainage.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you if you are negatively affected by rainwater, but if you're uphill,
I'm
It's
uphill.
probably not.
The shed is right on the property line, so that roof line, but I mean, we have stone there. I'm not really overly concerned. It's just more a curiosity question.
Gotcha.
If there's more, I guess Rob has to go through design on that then, and this is just an approval, or if that was already designed?
He has to comply with the engineer's
Yeah, got it.
requirements.
Okay.
You're aware of that, right?
As a follow-up to that, part of the resubmitted packet, I did meet with the town engineer. That
And?
letter that was referenced to, I didn't know about that letter until that last meeting. And I met with him, and even he was surprised. He said that he didn't actually do the inspection, it was someone else who did it, just his name on it. We had discussed it, and basically what we came up with was that the roof is gonna have gutters, and it's gonna have downspouts leading into rain barrels. And that's how we're gonna mitigate the stormwater runoff.
So right now, you have that letter, so it's gonna be subject to that letter unless he modifies it. So if he signs off it, then that's fine, but right now, of record is that letter.
Okay.
Now he can modify that as part of his approval process.
And then the only other thing was it sounds like you already, my objection was the 12.6, because that was gonna come closer to our fence line, and if that's staying in that 10-foot footprint, then I have no objection.
The testimony is he reduced it to 10 foot instead of 12.6.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the public? There's nothing else you'd like to add, right?
We have another
Oh.
question.
Ma'am, for the record, can you state your name?
Kathy Riley. I'm at 15 Dorothy Road, which is one street over. I'm uphill, 3 houses in, and my property is diagonal.
You're the first person that did it right tonight. Everyone, when you come up here, follow Miss Riley.
Oh, thanks.
So my original objection was height, because from my
Excuse
house,
me, do you have a question of him?
he did say that the height was 10 feet, gonna be the same at 10 feet. And he told me with the pitch of the roof, it's 10 feet, 8 inches. So,
Is that your question? Is it 10 feet, 8 inches?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions?
my question is the length and how much of the backyard that it's gonna take up. Because my understanding was it's already over the variance for the back coverage of the backyard. So I just,
To my understanding, it's not over the variance. And the fact that that was an existing structure when I moved in, I would have to assume that I couldn't have moved in without getting a CO, and I would have gotten a CO if that wasn't already authorized. Basically, all I'm doing is extending what's there by 25 feet,
so the length of it now is what,
15 feet,
15?
Mhm.
So you're going to 40 feet?
40 feet, yes.
So how much of the backyard does that take up? Does it take up 3/4 of the property? Like it just,
No, it's
it's not
probably-
even like a shed, it's like another
It's a
building.
storage unit, yes.
It just seems really large.
It is.
It is.
Mhm.
So from my vantage point,
Surveys.
I'm gonna look right over
No,
the
sir.
roof of it, and that impacts my lake view.
Well, anything that you would be looking at over that would be my house. It's not gonna be higher than my house, and the only thing in front of my house, between what's gonna be and the lake, is my house. So if my house isn't blocking your view now, this, since it's not gonna be higher, won't be blocking it either.
But I'm up 3 houses, so I'm looking down at the property, I don't really see your house. If my view of the lake is more over the garage. Right, I'm directly behind Bob's house.
So you're already looking over the roof.
I'm already looking over the roof.
Right, so it's not gonna be
My
higher.
objection is height.
It's not gonna be higher. It might be a couple inches higher,
Yeah, I got it.
but
Also, what he said is not true. He didn't need to get another CO when he bought the house, and you can't assume that what was there was approved. You get a CO when you get the house originally, but there's no CO re-inspection on sale of the house. So that's not true.
It's the purchaser's obligation to come to the zoning department and make sure everything's within code.
But to your point, you are putting a shed in that doesn't exceed the allowed impervious coverage of your lot, correct? Okay. So can you make that shed just a bit smaller so you don't have to get that variance? Couldn't you make it 35 feet long? Then you'd be cool.
I think 35 would, I'd still have to be here for 35 feet.
Based on what?
Yeah, that's
The amount of coverage.
I think Rob's correct,
Pardon?
looking at the variance stuff.
Allowed
I
is
think maybe I have a
40,
couple of feet of leeway
45.
without having to actually be here.
What I don't understand is you currently have 41% impervious coverage. You're adding 25 feet to the shed, and you're only increasing your impervious coverage by 4%. That makes no sense to me.
I'm sorry.
How big is your lot?
I don't actually know.
6,000 square feet?
You got a survey there?
I do.
8,000?
Is that in 250 square foot coverage? It says you got 15.
Does it actually say on here? Would it tell me?
Should.
As Ms. Chadwick said, you're adding 250 square feet of coverage.
You'd have to have one of these crazy shaped lots.
He does have a crazy shaped lot, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The lot is 8,000 square feet.
8,000.
8,000?
Yeah.
So what's 250 into 8,000? Who's got a calculator?
I'm sorry, what was it?
250 or 8,000?
250 from divided by 8,000?
Like 3%.
Yeah.
3.1?
Something like that.
3.125.
So if you took off, that's what you're adding.
Right.
That's what you're adding here.
I don't know. We gotta move on, Mr. Chairman.
It's not it does not appear to be a significant increase. In the way it's laid out on the property. Where, in relationship to his house, where exactly is your house? You're not on Lake Shore Drive.
I'm on Dorothy,
You're on
which runs
Dorothy.
parallel to Carlsbad.
My house is between Carlstadt and Dorothy.
So he
On
ends
Lake Shore.
on the corner of Carlsbad.
And which house is yours on Dorothy? First, second house, second?
Mr. Fioretti's house is right next to Rob going up Carlsbad, and my house is right behind Mr. Fioretti's.
So you're the second house from Lake Shore Drive? Does your backyard butt onto Mr.,
No, it actually butts onto Mr. Fioretti's, but my view that's being impaired is diagonal over the shed that Mr. Greenfield's requesting.
But it's no higher than what's already there.
He's not blocking the lake, is he, from your viewpoint? He's not blocking your view of the lake, is he?
No, I look over it. So my original objection.
You look over, your house fronts on Dorothy.
Yeah.
She's above him.
And
I do have a picture.
I don't want to see any pictures.
Okay.
What, if I'm standing on the corner of Lake Shore and Dorothy and I start walking up Dorothy, how many houses on the left before I get to yours?
3,
You're the third house.
yes.
You have no, I can't say that.
There's a house.
Are you sure you're getting I'm sorry. I withdraw that question. Do you have any other questions of him?
I don't.
Okay. Any other members of the public have any questions of this witness on the testimony given this evening? I hear none and see none. I'm just going to make an announcement that the fire inspector is on his way over to determine if we're in excessive capacity. So as soon as he comes over, we're going to either count heads or count feet and divide by 2, so.
Well, we have 2 cases, right? Chairman?
Excuse me?
That make it different, yeah.
I'm just saying, I can't hold any case in here if I'm exceeding capacity, okay?
Right.
All right, is there anything else you'd like to add? Okay, at this point, are there any members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to this application? Speak in objection. Does anybody want to speak in objection to this application? No. Any member of the public who wishes to speak in favor of this application? I hear none, see none. Do we need to go into conference, or can we come to a decision? Mr. What?
I want to go into conference.
Do I have a motion to go into conference?
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, who wants to start?
My biggest concern right now is we're putting a facility or a building in a residential area that almost looks commercial, and I wish it could be smaller.
Mr. Reddy?
Yeah, similar concern, if you can reduce instead of 40 feet to 35 or something like that, 50 to 35 or 40, 10 feet lesser than.
I agree with Davey. I think you're adding on to a house to make a business bigger. And I have concerns.
I'm along with that thought too. I'm just looking at it from a standpoint of what it looks like in comparison to the house. It just looks like, what you said, adding on to the house property for business.
Yeah, this may be a technicality, but I don't understand how we're calling this a detached garage. Honestly. And I don't want anyone to get away with that. It's not a garage. It's not functioning as a garage. It doesn't look like a garage. And the size is the biggest concern for me.
Well, if it means anything, I'm still.
Excuse me,
Sorry?
you can't talk right now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Thank you.
I
Mr.
agree
Puri.
that there's a, big addition, 250 square feet for the business. And I'm not too sure there will be no visitors. And the size is pretty big for the, just storage and, having an office over there. So I'm concerned about that.
Is that everybody? I'm gonna give you two options at this point. Option number one is we're gonna go to a vote. And if you can count, you need four affirmative votes. Or, I'll let you carry this case to a future date, and you can rework this, rethink it, you can withdraw it, or you can come back and say, I want the vote, and then go to court. All right? Well, you could sue us. Sure, if we turn you down, we could sue you. We can sue you. We're not gonna sue you.
You could appeal it.
You can appeal the decision to the courts. You don't have a planner, you don't have an attorney, don't have an architect, you're here by yourself, you're at a big disadvantage. Big disadvantage. So, do you want to carry this case to a future date?
I guess so.
Okay?
Is there a number you guys would be satisfied with?
All extensions.
We can't
tell you that.
gotta come back.
Well, I keep hearing 35 feet.
I would suggest you talk to your neighbors who had objection.
You got objections to people who are saying that this is not a garage, it's a business. So,
It's not, I said that under oath.
Why don't you sit down with your neighbors and see whether you can find a common ground?
or contact a professional who might give you some professional advice. We cannot give you professional advice. Okay, I'm sorry. Are you willing to carry this case and give us whatever extensions are necessary? And no further notice? No further notice, ladies and gentlemen over there. They're not paying attention. What date are we carrying this case to,
July 12th.
July 12th? Okay, we're gonna carry this case to July 12th without further notice and with whatever extensions are required. This is the only notice you're gonna get. If you want to stay in contact with this case, you can always call Nora and see if there's been updated plans submitted, because he's got to submit plans 10 days prior to the applicant. Okay, all right. Do I have a motion to that effect?
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
See you then.
All righty, and we move on.
Who's the first?
He's on his way.
26.
I hope I don't get arrested for violating.
Did anybody come here yet?
23.
No, well, did you? There you go.
I got 123 right now.
123?
Yeah, I can't get around the corner.
Yeah, you got people on the hallway.
Yeah, well, I didn't count that.
And we're losing.
Last time we had about the journey, there have been a number of objectors here, so maybe after we hear them, it will lighten up some.
Okay.
I mean, maybe the putting stone, some of the people, if they have to, can go outside until the others leave. Maybe, you know, or.
Probably don't want to give up their seats, Nora.
Well,
Well, we
maybe
have
raise
two
your
cases,
hand,
though, right?
maybe raise
We
your
have one
hand
more
to the
left.
objectors from about the journey, so we have an idea.
Yeah.
How many are here for about the journey application?
There's like 20 people here.
Okay, I'm just gonna make another warning, okay? If the fire inspector comes and we're okay as we are, we're gonna proceed. We now have a case, it's starting at 8:15, gives us an hour and 45 minutes. My experience with a case that has objectors is never over in less than 2 hours. So it could very well be that we're gonna hear all about the journey and never get to the Pudding Stone case. But I have no guarantees, okay? I have no guarantees. I have no guarantees about anything in life, except that I pay my taxes. And I did that yesterday. Okay, case 2270, All About the Journey LLC. It's a site plan with D variance to operate a behavioral therapy office.
Nora, where should we set up traffic going today in terms of it on a block view with the easel?
It might be better over here.
But, you know, Nora, then again, maybe over here would be better.
Okay, all
No,
right.
no.
Well, you know, I'm drinking my smart water and it led me to have to sit over here.
Who's good?
I was not afraid to die. I was afraid I wasn't going to die.
You wish you were.
Oh my God, I was ready to meet my maker. Let me tell
Did
you.
you have that truck? I think you did.
The motor shot? Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, moving ahead.
Good evening, everybody. Stephen Tombalakian from Wiener Law Group on behalf of the applicant, All About the Journey. We're here tonight, as Chairman correctly recited, for site plan approval and use variance relief for the property that's at 1035 Littleton, block 208, lot 85, which is in the R3 residential district. We're here tonight to repurpose that building for its contract purchaser, who's to my right, who wants to use that building not as a house, but as a business where she's going to provide therapy for persons with autism and other similar type conditions. So we're going to be hearing a lot about that use tonight. It's a unique use. It's very unique. There's a demand for it. You're going to hear about that as well tonight. So just to sum up where I'm going with this case, we're going to hear from Mary Jo Wallaco, who's the applicant, the owner of All About the Journey. Then we're going to hear briefly, really, from Donna Bullock, our site engineer, who's going to explain what site changes are being proposed, which, because of the Morris County Planning Board report, very few site changes are being proposed. We had to eliminate one of the two curb cuts for the site, so that the site will really largely remain as is. And last but not least, John Dunn, our professional planner, will bring it all home, explain the planning rationales for the use variance sought for this. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my first witness.
I'm not telling you how to run your case or anything, but are you going to discuss the previous variances that we've granted on this property?
I think John McDonough will.
Fine, that's fine,
Yeah.
that's fine.
He probably handled it. He's
My memory serves me correct, yes, you're
yeah,
correct.
John will definitely
Okay.
do that.
Ma'am, if you could raise your right hand, you swear firm testimony about to give before the board is true self you got. And
Yeah.
for the record, can you spell and state your name?
Sure, it's Mary Jo Wallaco, and it's Walilko.
And you're the owner of the
I'm the
business.
sole owner of All About the Journey, yes.
You've been sworn. Please just talk into the microphone.
Now, Mary Jo, please introduce yourself to the board. Tell them who you are, what you do, and then we'll get to why you're interested in purchasing this property to operate your business.
Okay, so my name, as I said, Mary Jo Wallaco. I started my journey specifically with autism community about 22 years ago when my son, who's now 24, was diagnosed with autism. That has developed now from not knowing anything about that into a career to help the people who do have autism. Now, my son at that time, 22 years ago, I want to make sure that you understand that those numbers were 1 in 17,000. The current rate is 1 in 34 in New Jersey. There is a dramatic increase in autism. The perspective, if the rates continue, we're going to be looking at about 2025, 2026, 1 in every 2. So this is a huge need that is not always being met. My company is focused on the behavioral therapy. There is down the street, about 3 houses, a physical therapy center, and they also receive things like occupational therapy and speech therapy, but that's not what we do. We focus on the behavioral therapy. What we are looking for is to be able to make these people more independent, make them have pride, have them involved in our community. I grew up in Parsippany, in Lake Parsippany actually, and one of the things that I always loved about our community was the fact that it is so diverse and so accepting. And that's why I wanted to bring my company back into this particular town. We were looking to do something very unique. Currently, adults who go out into children go through to adulthood till the age of 21 in the school districts. After that, the need dramatically drops. Keep in mind, like I said, 1 in 17,000, these are the people who are currently in that 20 to 30 range, which is year-old range, which is what our plan currently is for this house, is to help them. They would not be in the home all the time. They would be also in the community a lot. We specifically sought out this type of a project because a lot of the adults are so underserviced that they are placed in things like, I call it a gym, a cafetorium, but where they're just tables and tables of adults sitting there and doing things like playing cards or checkers, but there's not real value in that. Our belief is that each and every adult that we service can be a productive member of society. They can have a place that they can go to and they feel welcome, that they can hang out with their friends and be able to do what they like to do. So we sought out this particular type of facility versus a basement of a church or things like that. What else can I
Okay,
tell
so,
you?
okay, so where do you currently operate? And will this facility, if approved and you proceed with the purchase, will it be complementing your other facility?
Yeah, we currently are housed, the adults in Dover, New Jersey, and we are part of a church at the moment, but most of our time is spent out in the community. So having this is going to be, a place where they can go in and do a lot of the things we can't do now. We do not have the ability to have a bedroom set up so they can learn, and washer and dryer where they can learn, how to do those particular skills themselves. We do not have the ability to be able to have a place for them to hang out that's theirs, and learn how to socially interact appropriately. One of the things that we have found a huge part of the need is, this is a spectrum, okay? So you have some who are also intellectually disabled, but we have a lot that are not. So they're able to go through the school systems and they're able to function, but then we get to socialization and they can't. They don't know how to make friends. They don't know how to hang out. They don't know how to, go to their family picnics and go to their family parties and be part of that. That's what we're, looking to teach them and why we sought out a house in particular.
So explain to the board, what exactly will go on inside the house?
Well, the lower level is basically going to be designated towards that socialization component we talked about, and also, simple activities. So we're going to have, puzzles and games like we were talking about, but we're also going to have those that are going to learn how to dance, how to sing, how to do karaoke, how to go outside and, be there and play volleyball or something like that. I mean, the volleyball obviously is adapted for them, but things like that. Our upper area is more designated towards life skills and vocational skills. Some of our students now, or adults, are out into the community. They actually run their own little coffee cart, and they go from location to location. The orders are brought in on a computer system. They make the baked goods, they make whatever, and they send that out. So some of them go out into the community and they're working, they're folding pizza boxes, they're going out and doing car washes, different things and activities. So we won't be in the home all day long. Our whole goal is to try to get them out into the community and working.
When you say we, talk about who your staff is, how many staff per client, and that type of, so the board knows, kind of can anticipate what the process is.
Absolutely. One of the things that makes us unique is there's a group called DDD. Most of people know about the Developmental Disability Program, and their ratio is roughly 1 to 8. Our ratios are 1 to 1. So we actually have intensive time with the students, and our therapists get to know them and are able to help them and then back off and let them, if they need help, they guide it and they back off. So they're able to gear that specifically so that the adults truly learn the skills. We have a behaviorist, a BCBA, which is a board-certified behavioral analyst, who is in charge of the program. And then all of my therapists are registered behavioral technicians, meaning that they have advanced time and study for this. So this is not somebody that we're...
Mark, is this a licensed facility?
They're certified by the Board of Education, but we are not required to be licensed.
No state license?
No, no state license.
When you say there's no state license, you don't go to the,
Department of Health.
no, it's not the.
DDD, you don't get any funding from DDD?
We don't at this time. We have applied for that as an option, but again, we will not have those ratios. Most of all of our payments and everything come from insurance companies.
Insurance company?
Yes, or private pay. We have several that do that.
How many clients at a time are in the facility?
It would vary at different times. We currently have 5 students that we deal with. I would say absolutely at any one time, I can't see more than maybe I don't know, maybe 20 tops. But that doesn't mean that they're gonna be there all at the same time.
Would that be 20,
Clients
and then
and
20?
20
So you're
therapists,
having
yes.
40 people in,
That would be the max I can probably see going through there, yes. But I remember, some of those may be outside, some of those may be out in the community. Typically, I kind of try to ballpark it with
so you're
about
gonna go through
4.
parking? I guess the
Parking is
planner
taken
will-
care of at our other facilities, and they will be shuttled.
So everybody, your clients all get there how?
They get there by the parents. Most of these clients, unfortunately, that's where they end up. They're with their parents living for life, so they're home. So their clients, we have already planned on that with traffic to stagger our hours for them. So we might have 3 come in at 9 o'clock, 3 at 9:15, because the parents literally pull in, drop off, and they leave.
Is it always a 1-to-1 ratio?
Always. Always. And the only exception that would be for that might be is if we switch to a total DDD, which it's not in my.
What's a DDD?
Division of Disabled Disabilities, or Disabilities, I forget.
Development.
Developmental
You're
disabilities. Thank
Development
you.
of disability.
I'm just kidding now. But we're really not, even with that, like I said, their ratios are much larger. We are never gonna have that. I'm a mom. If I wouldn't do this with my own son, I would not do this with him.
I want to go back to your license. Currently, you have a facility where?
We are located with the adults in St. John's Church in Dover.
Okay.
We have 2 children's facilities, one inside Bridges to Learning in Rockaway, and then the other one's over in Cedar Knolls.
Is this one going to be totally adult?
At this time, yes, that is my only plan.
All right, and you do not have a license from the State Department of Health?
Correct.
I just don't understand.
Can you just give
It's because it's behavioral health, it doesn't require
I've
that. I
dealt
just
with a
don't
number
know.
of these, and they all had licenses, Chuck Horse.
Can you tell us about your education experience and your licensing?
I do not have a license. I'm just a business owner of this, and I went to school at Ramapo County College for a psychology degree. And then I have gone on and I have worked with children since I was 8, but then I broke away from that. And then when my son happened, I then went back and I was a crisis prevention person for working with autistic adults and children, and also as an aide in schools and also a school teacher. But I hire the professionals that have the license.
And they all have licenses?
Absolutely. Yeah,
People-
all the BCBAs, which are board certified behavioral analysts.
Okay.
They're in charge of doing the evaluation of the
Okay.
adults, doing the treatment plans, presenting it to the insurance company, and, all of that.
I'm not sure if I should sit on this case. I do sit on a board of an outfit that runs similar programs. So, and I have a grandson that's in the exact target audience you're speaking of. Having said that, I would question why you want to go into a residential area for this service right now. Because frankly, my concern for the neighbors would be serving the people you need to serve, and they need servicing. It's a big unmet need. Couldn't agree with you more. But I believe in this town, we have some other facilities that could really serve you and your clientele much better than converting a residential area where you're going to have a lot of frequency of visitation of people, your staff, and what else. Why are you focusing on a residential area right now? What is your decision?
Well, part of that was the fact that we want them to be in the community and be
Okay,
around
we want
and
them
be a
to.
home.
We have a lot of group homes in our
We
town.
do have group homes.
Yeah.
That's a different scenario than what we do.
I understand.
So
I
that's
understand.
okay. But we want them to have a place that's theirs and that they feel at home and being part of.
But they're not going to live there. They're going to come
They
there
are
every day.
not, nobody is going to stay overnight.
Yeah.
We're probably one of the easiest neighbors because we're planning to be there Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, with an occasional, okay, we might have occasional, in the summer, we might have, a family night, a social night, because that's part of it. We may have an occasional, hey, bring your families and, have it on a Saturday. But we don't take this for granted at all, and we looked specifically for this type of thing. We want them to feel like this is theirs, and it's not a business. This is their lives.
And like you say, the majority of your clientele do live at home with parents right now.
They
So-
do.
So they have a home.
They have a
Where they can
home,
learn
but
how to
it's-
make a bed and do the washing and stuff
Well,
like
you,
that.
you would hope so, but
Yeah,
I,
a lot of them
if
don't.
I'm
I
reaching
understand.
at the point of 20 years old and
I
25 and
understand.
teaching.
I understand it's a big unmet need. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
The degree of autism, there's all sorts of different
Yes.
categories. Are you taking all spectrum?
Right now, everything that the people that I have currently are moderate to high. That's the best way I can describe it to
Functionality, you
you.
mean?
They are functional.
Moderate to
like-
high functionality?
Yes.
Okay.
They're the old Asperger's people.
Okay.
Well, the high would be, yes.
Right. And Asperger's are no longer, you realize that, right?
Oh, what?
Asperger's no longer exists.
It's
They're
all-
not- They're all on the.
It's all under
spectrum.
autism
Yeah.
spectrum.
Okay.
So how far along do you have a schedule of who's going to be there on what days, so you keep that 1-to-1 ratio? Do you have, because you say you might have 20 people there, 20 clients at one point, then you need 20 staff members. How far in advance do you know how many are going to be there?
Well, we would know, right now, it's as they call. We have not posted anything that we are, out there to do this yet. But we would start with any one of them, and just as how we do it now. They can go on a waiting list. We start, we'll go through the process. We'll let one in. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, right now, we have 5. I know we could take 5 people.
So you have a set
We have
clientele?
set, yeah, we take it and we plan for it. And when we start to realize that this is going to get too big, we're going to start looking for, another locale.
And I guess maybe my other point to follow up on what Davey was saying about location, Littleton Road's pretty busy, right? So, there's a lot of traffic out there. So, just to put it out there, if somebody walks out, I know they're high functioning and all that. There's a lot of traffic out there. If something, somebody takes an eye off somebody. One of my good friends, his son is autistic, and it's a worrisome situation on our road.
Mhm.
So that's just a thought I have in my head
And
as
one of
well.
the things we did take into consideration about that was planning for that was a fence to go around the property, so they couldn't just run out into the road. And keeping that one of the things I strived for with this and planning was to keep everything the same. Like, we're not putting up walls inside of the home. We're not putting up any big facilities outside. We're not looking for that. We're looking to keep that character and that to be part of who we are.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
You started with Dover, that's the facility you have in Dover?
Correct.
Okay. And then you also mentioned Rockaway and Cedar Knolls?
Correct.
So you have total 3 facilities?
Yes, 2 are children, 1 is adult.
And total, how many clients in the 3
Um,
facilities?
I would say probably, let's see, we have 5 in the adults, and the Cedar Knolls just has 1 at this time, and then I have 7 or 8 in the Rockaway.
Do you plan to close any facility when you move here, or?
The only plan we have is to move our, from Dover to here, so it's the 5 adults. They're the only ones coming.
With sorry.
Where is the facility in Rockaway and Cedar Knolls? Is that in some house, or is it?
No,
office?
they are inside, we purposely chose that to be inside of a daycare for both of those, because those children are under the age of school years that we work with. So we want them in a location that they have neurotypical peers to help model. And that's one of the things that we hope that we will be able to do, is to, encourage our high school students to come for an hour after school and work with our adults
In
too.
all those locations, you have 1-to-1 ratio?
Correct. Yeah, and we actually, and that 1-to-1 is therapists. We do have the behaviorists that are in addition to.
Do you have any school-aged clients?
I'm sorry?
Any school-aged clients?
Yes, we do.
And who sends them to you, the districts or just families privately?
No, great, that comes through the families.
I guess I have
We
another.
are able to take that if a school district so chooses. We are covered as an approved state vendor.
At this facility in Parsippany or?
No, just in general, what we talk about.
So from another standpoint, I'm thinking about parking. If you do have, say you have 10 or 20 at the most, but you have 10 clients, you're gonna need spots for 10 behavioral cars, right?
No, we will not on this property.
So why don't you explain to the
Yeah,
board what your
so-
idea is in terms of
How are your employees gonna get to work every
They're
morning?
going to be shuttled. We have the facilities now, including the one in Dover, that we can maintain the parking for them, that they're already there. We have cars or vans, I should say, that we use to shuttle our adults around now to go out into the community, and that's how we plan on picking up and dropping off our staff.
So they'll park in Dover and you'll pick them up and bring them
Dover,
down?
Rockaway,
Okay.
whatever.
So the on-site spaces that are proposed for Parsippany, who is gonna park in those spaces?
Those are primarily set for our parents to do drop-off and pickup. Our clinical director and myself, who will go back and forth between all the locations. That's what the parking.
So you guys drive the van, or do you have a separate
No,
driver?
we have a separate driver. Sometimes I have. to.
Only the employees get shuttled, not the client.
No, the clients are dropped off and picked up by their parents.
And do the parents
Or-
hang out?
No. No,
This gives them a little bit of a respite, too.
yes.
In your, just so I can kind of gauge where on the spectrum your clients fall, how often do you have ambulance or police
Never.
calls to restrain?
We are certified to restrain. We have never restrained. And I've been in business since 2015.
How often does a client wander off?
I've never had that situation.
Never.
Again, because they're one-to-one, it's really hard to wander off. That's their only job, is to be there with that client.
So there'll be no vans parked on the property, correct?
Like if we're there, or like if we've shuttled in, and then the van's there to, wait for our clients or wait for a group to come out and then leave, that would be the plan.
And what's the size of these vans?
They're minivans,
Like
not even a 15-passenger yet.
Like a,
Yeah.
Well, because I'm hoping that we can, I'd rather do a 15-passenger van than,
Where's that, is that van gonna stay overnight at
it
this
does not
facility?
have to, no.
Well,
If
you gotta tell me right now, because it's gonna be going into the resolution.
where will the vans be parked overnight?
I mean, if it's allowable, I could do that, but honestly, I don't
Are
think
you
it will,
request- are you
because it's going to be that.
You said you were gonna pick up your
Right.
instructors in Dover.
Correct.
So,
So
and they're
really,
gonna have to
I
go,
think I would end up having them parked up there,
Because the board wants to know, because this is a residential neighborhood, they may not want vans parked over.
and that's fine.
So no vans.
I wanna go back to, you get your clients from being a registered vendor with the local schools?
No, we kind of, the one thing about the special needs community, it's very tight. It's small, and we all have, the word gets out if you've got, good programs, and they talk about it. All of our adults come from word of mouth. They don't come right now from schools. I don't have anybody that came from a school. We would never have somebody there that's being sent from a school during a school day and the school district's paying us. Because this is looking for that, for those that are aging out of the school program.
So this is the adult one, right?
Correct.
What is considered an adult? How old?
21 and over.
Well, most of the school districts will have their adults there to 21.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that a parent wouldn't pull them out at 20 or whatever. It might be that our program is more appropriate for their child.
How long of a day does a client usually stay?
Typically, we get there at 8:30, they get there between 8:30 and 9, and they're out usually by 4. And then we leave by 4:30. That gives us a chance to clean up, straighten up.
And the average client is there 5 days a week?
I would say right now the average is, I do have some that are not there 5 days. I also have some that are only there 10 to 2.
Right. So is it all because of what insurance will pay for?
Some of it is, and some of it is apparent preference. We tell them what the insurance approves. What they do after that is up to them.
Now, Mary Jo, if a parent wanted to go to a competitor, if I can even use that word, what are the other closest comparable facilities to what you're proposing on Littleton?
Well, nobody really has what we're proposing that I'm aware of, being in a home that is not a group home. There are, certainly, like there's the Arc of Morris County. I know there's another group, I can't remember the name, but in Parsippany that does something similar. There's one in Denville that does similar to what we do, where they go out into the community. They actually do have a house, but that's right off of I don't remember the name of the road, I'm sorry. But there aren't a lot that do that kind of situation, and that's what makes this unique.
Given it's a close-knit community and you kind of all know everybody, do you really feel there's a demand for this facility?
Oh, there's a huge, there's no question. I mean, when I talk these numbers, I mean, since I can tell you this date because I don't have, from 2000 to 2016, we had a 500% increase in autism. In Parsippany alone, there's approximately roughly 30 students within the district. And they have about 30 classrooms with about between 7 and 10 children just in Parsippany.
I think Mary Jo has pretty much explained her proposed use. Again, I'm going to have two additional witnesses, our engineer and John McDonough. And Mary Jo will be here for the remainder of the evening to, if you have any questions about.
We have to open it up to the public.
Yeah, I just have one more question,
Yeah,
just so I
absolutely.
understand the clientele. Are they verbal or nonverbal?
Both. And those that are nonverbal, we're teaching them currently to use an augmentative device to help them communicate, or sign language.
Okay, at this point, I'm gonna open, I'm sorry.
The occupancy that you suggested, 20 clients and 20 instructors. Do we know that this building is big enough to handle 40 people? Plus some extras?
I guess that might, you
I don't
might have
think
to.
the planner's gonna do it.
Yeah, that might be something that, somebody has to tell me. Otherwise, I can tell you that going through that, based on our experience of the rooms that we've had and bodies in there, you've got approximately, I want to say 9 rooms off the top of my head, and we were planning around 4 to 5 adults per room, and that's kind of the ballpark we went with.
But again, that would be if everybody was on site at the same time versus
Correct.
out in the community doing.
Yeah, and really, that's the biggest goal we have, is getting them out in the community. We really don't want to be there as much. Obviously.
I have another question on that.
Sure.
So if you have 40 people there,
Mhm.
some people are out in the community.
Mhm.
You've got one van that drops the instructors off, then goes back to Dover. Are they going to be walking or taking Ubers into the
No, we
community?
will be bringing them back.
And how are you going to be bringing?
The same van that took them will be the ones bringing them back.
The van's gonna wind up staying there most of the day, I think.
That's,
The van's gonna be getting used most of the day.
Yes,
Bring instructors over,
absolutely.
go get clients, take clients wherever.
Drop them off, pick
And
them
at
up,
the
drop them off.
end of the day, take the employees home.
Correct.
so how many vans? I mean, it sounds like.
Right now, we have 2.
Oh.
And again, those are SUV minivan type. That's what we have.
Okay.
And we can always do them in shifts. Take, like right now, if one of our vans, is not available, they'll take half the clients over to the gym, and then they'll come back and get the next half, and then take that half up and bring them back, and go back again.
The building itself, did anybody go through an architect on the number of toilets, handicap accessibility, those types of
It is handicap accessible, it has a ramp, and it has on the first floor everything that they need, including a bathroom, including a bathroom that goes right in, that's handicap accessible.
But you didn't have an architect
No.
do a due diligence on it yet?
Unless the architect through there now.
But wouldn't you think you need to? If you have 40 people there, is one bathroom enough?
No, there's 2 bathrooms there, and again, most of them are gonna be out during the day. We have one now, and when we all gotten it together, and if you think about this, it's like having a party at your home. They're coming for a short period and leaving, so.
Except you're having a business. And I'm sure there's regulation for what is required, where.
Again, based on code, if the code limits the number, that's what we're limited to.
Yeah, and that goes back to the question of licensing. With the state, most facilities, have certain requirements, and they're more robust than just a residential home.
Right. So, is there a state license that you're aware of?
Not I'm aware of, no.
What I'm concerned is we get through this whole thing, the board approves it, you go to the building department for modifications, and it blows up in your face.
Are you proposing to modify the house at all? No, there's no proposed modifications. If the building department tells us.
You're gonna have to get a certificate of
Oh, we'll get a
occupancy.
CO, but if the building department.
In order to get a CO, you're gonna have to meet some kind of standard.
Yeah.
And nobody's done any work on that other than you know what the building has, but you're not an architect, I'm not an architect.
Yeah, typically, like, for example, if you pull it.
But I've dealt with this type of use a number of occasions, and people who were driven didn't do their due diligence
Like-
on the fundamentals.
Like, I've gotten like separately in Passaic County residential detox centers. And that is,
Different story.
you have to get a state license, the state approves the architecture. It's a very,
Excuse me. I've been informed by the fire marshal that we cannot continue this meeting with the number of people that's in this room. I can tell you two things. One, we're never going to get to Pudding Stone tonight, so if the Pudding Stone people would like to go home and watch some TV, and so we can hear this other case, because I know once the Pudding Stone people leave, we will be under the number.
Joe, are you here for Pudding Stone? Yeah. Do you want to get your application carried so I can continue? Like, pass the mic.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Joseph O'Neill of Garofalo O'Neill Ruggiero here on behalf of Pudding Stone. I understand that we're having a little capacity problem here this evening.
Talk a little louder. Talk a little louder.
I understand we're having a capacity problem here this evening for my application for removing retaining walls, but I'd like to have this adjourned, I guess,
Carried.
for a bigger room.
Well, I would like to have a special meeting. If we didn't how many people are here for, all about the journey? Can you raise your hand? So you've got about 10, 15, I mean, if we didn't have them here, then we could potentially, if you want a bigger room, you want a special meeting, we're gonna have to negotiate.
Bob, I just want to point out, there's folks in the hallway, and there may be folks who aren't here tonight.
I understand that, Dave, yes, I'm sure of that. Oh.
Negotiate what?
Hmm?
You need a bigger room? Where you need to go?
Well, I have to get a bigger room, and I don't, since COVID, I don't know if schools are letting us in anymore. I don't know
Well,
the
may I
answer.
suggest the rec room at the PAL is pretty large.
Rec room at the PAL is a possibility. It's gonna require a significant, transfer of,
They have,
sound equipment, right?
I don't know what they do about that, they have it. You know,
They have
I
it?
can't imagine the schools aren't letting people in at this point.
So we don't know where we're gonna have it, we don't know when we're gonna have it, and,
Why don't we?
and what?
That's a problem.
That's a problem, thank you.
Could I, just one thing though, for this application, for the Pudding Stone people, obviously, you don't know how many are gonna show up, but our issue is here, we can't run a meeting over capacity here, okay?
it's not safe. It's a
Pardon?
violation of fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So if you're here for
All
Pudding
right,
Stone,
so,
Thank you, sir, thank you. I apologize.
Wait, before they clear out
Look.
really quickly though, if we can carry this to the next meeting to
Okay.
see if I have a place and then
We're gonna-
announce where and when.
We're gonna carry this meeting to May 3rd without further notice, but the meeting will not be heard May 3rd. On May 3rd, we will come up with a plan as to where we're gonna have it and on what day we're going to have it. Is that, am I in agree, is that that's the
That's
deal, right? Everybody's on board on that?
yes,
Mr. O'Neill, you're on board?
yes, thank you very much.
Motion,
I have
All
one question.
extensions through the end of next month.
okay.
One question though. If in fact we have less than 130 people, we can have the meeting in this room, right?
Yeah, how are you gonna guarantee that?
I know, you're not gonna guarantee.
Good luck.
All right, is there a motion to May 3rd? Motion to May 3rd? Second, any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed?
Where will the notice be? Where will the notice be?
You have to.
I'm on May 3rd,
May-
you'll find out.
Call, on May 4th, you can call Nora, and she'll tell you where it's gonna be.
Chairman, should we do a 5-minute break?
Yeah, might as well take a 5 minutes. What was that? Look at 120 phone calls.
Oh, God.
Nora, just put it on your answering machine.
This is the wackiest night ever.
I don't think that many people live there.
They took this thing out. Thank you. They put this thing out on Facebook Yankees were winning 2-0.
So you know what? Just watch it. They got blown up last time.
I don't think they're
Am I on
going to
record?
place this year.
Oh, the Yankees are
What do you think Judge is doing? 2-1, top of the sixth. What do you think he's going to do? 45, 50 maybe.
RBI, home runs, and average. Almost there.
No, almost there.
I tell you, I like the way
I hope this kid Bolton does that. Riddle's pitching.
Okay, folks, if you'd exit, please, we need to move on. Appreciate your time.
Three hits, one earned run. 4 and 3rd.
We like to get home
So
too.
boom, Yanks are good. He doesn't know
Yankees got, well, the
Thanks,
Yankees only
guys.
got 3 hits.
Good night. Can we back to the
Bolton's
journey?
got a hit, Judge has a hit, and, I'm sorry. Bolton's got a hit, Judge has a hit, Cabrera has a hit.
Back to the journey. Let's go.
Okay.
Wait till I get out of the room. You just spend more time in the DL than.
I know, but what he's
Thank you for coming out. I really appreciate it.
there.
We're legal now.
He was hot and cold. He can hit.
We're gonna stay back
Yeah,
there.
I'm right. You see that how many he did over there?
I have
He
one.
couldn't have been 10 feet out the ground. He did right center field.
And he doesn't even look like he's
He's a very sharp
Doesn't
throw.
even look like he's
Very sharp throw. He almost looks awkward.
All right, can we go back on the record, Nora?
Please.
Okay, we're back on the record.
All right, Chairman, thanks. We took that little break to allow the agenda to be dealt with. So I have no further questions for Ms. Walco, so
Well, the members of the public, any members, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to explain this out, I'm going to be very succinct. If you have a question, number 1, you walk up to the microphone. Number 2, you state your name. Number 3, you state your address. Number 4, you speak loudly enough into the microphone so we can hear you. It's questions. It's not time for testimony. Okay? Questions. So I'm going to ask now, is there any member of the public that has questions of this witness on the testimony given this evening? Please come forward.
you can use that one.
Is there do we have any extra chairs or not? No?
I'm fine to
Okay.
Denise Michael, I live at 30 Fieldcrest Road. I don't have a question, but I do want to...
Then sit down. Then sit down. What makes you think I said you have a question?
So if you can allow me to make my point, I want to...
I don't want you to make your point. I want you to ask her a question.
Okay, so my question is, you stated there is no other facility in the vicinity like what you're running.
No, not like what we're running, like what we're proposing to be put into a house, other than the ones that I mentioned. I don't know of any others that are in a home, not in a, like, commercial type facility.
Oh, I didn't hear that,
Okay.
so that's what I wanted to clarify, because I do know of one in Forum Park, so.
Yeah, and like I said, there's one in Denville that I know, there's one in Morris Plains that I'm aware of. You know, there are other things that do things similar to us. They usually operate under DDD. They don't normally operate under the insurance aspect of it, which is a lot more, we have to meet medical necessity. When I say that we're doing by insurance, we have to meet those guidelines that the insurance company sets out. So that's what makes that a little different.
I can't challenge that, I don't know enough about that, so.
So again, to the chairman's point, every witness is going to testify, you get to ask them questions. After they're done, you get to come back and then you get to testify yourselves under oath. So that's why you have to ask questions now, that's the question.
Sorry if I didn't explain that last part. I thought it was...
So you're saying the only thing that makes you different is that you are in a home compared to somebody who might be bringing a client into a strip mall or an office building, correct?
That, along with the insurance and along, the medical necessity component, and the fact that we're trying to tie all of this together for them, yes. But there are other people out there that will do community-based support, or they might do, life skills, they might do
Could they do-
vocational.
Could they do exactly the same thing you do, but in an office building?
Could you do that?
Mhm.
Yes, you could. I'm
Okay.
not gonna say you can't.
Okay.
It's it's the atmosphere that we're looking for.
Got you.
What type of client is not taken by you? I mean, someone who has got violent tendencies would,
At this time, we do not take the lower end of the spectrum who have that extreme violent tendency. We don't have the facility, even this facility would not have this proper equipment to handle
To
that.
deal
So
with
we are focusing on our middle to higher end. So
Okay.
a middle end might not be able to communicate. They might need the augmentative devices. They might need sign language. They might need things like that. We primarily deal with autistic people.
okay.
Like if somebody came with Downs, I'm not
Okay.
going to say no.
And
Long as it fits.
the age bracket seem to move around. They're not all over 21. You take some from the high school.
No, what I'm saying is, we are hoping to have the high school students come and work, be peer models with our adults for maybe an hour after school. What we take in this facility would be basically 18 and up if you want to get there, because they have to go through school. Sometimes parents choose to pull their adult students out, but all programs in the schools typically go to 21. Right now, our students are 21 to 30.
My understanding is all school districts in the state now have to provide facilities for people on the spectrum.
They have
okay?
to offer it, yes.
They have to offer it up to age 21.
Correct.
The families can opt to take that at the public school or go to the private sector once they're 18. Okay?
Correct.
They can't go there before 18, okay?
Correct.
They have to be in the public school system. Then from that 18 to 21 is a big hole. After 21, they're not serviced within the public school system of any kind, any educational system. That's the need your
We're looking
business
to
is
fill.
fulfilling. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
And mentioning Parsippany High School, you want Parsippany High School students to come volunteer? Is that?
Volunteer or possibly, be a paid position. We don't have especially seniors who are looking to go off into the education field, to the special education, into psychology, sociology, things like that. We would love to help them along and have them come in and, work with our adults.
Okay.
So just so you know, and every case is heard and decided on their own merits. We recently did not approve of case of something that was kind of similar, senior housing of sorts, of elder care and whatnot. And it was a very admirable goal, and they kind of came up with the same kind of concept. They didn't want it in a office park, an office space. They wanted it in a community. But you have to realize that you are asking us to approve, no matter how noble it might be, us to approve of putting a business in a community. And when you have objectors about that, that does weigh, especially when there is other areas where it could be done. So, especially when we have somebody on the board who is voicing a concern and who has not a vested interest, but knows what the deal is with this community, it makes me at least very, very wary to, although again, how noble it is to put this business in a residential community.
That's why I think you'll benefit from hearing the testimony, hopefully soon, of John McDonough, who's
Okay.
gonna lay all that out for you.
Okay.
So I have one more question to follow. We know that we have 20 clients, we have one-to-one, so we have another 20
Up to.
doctors.
Up to.
Up to, yeah, 20. How many of these high school kids are you also gonna have that's gonna supplement the 40 that you could potentially have in this building?
Well, I think that would really depend upon,
So I
first
have
of all,
to-
an interest.
So you have,
And I would focus,
so
I'm sorry.
so the purpose of that is you have to give the board all the information here so they can make a decision.
I understand. And what I'm looking at when we talk about the, possibility of the high school students, that would be more available for what we're looking for fall, when we're looking for the summer. We're not looking for that to be a whole year job. Okay, so that primarily where they would really come in to help is in the social areas, when we're outside, when we're trying to do cornhole, we're trying to do volleyball. Those are the kind of activities we would be looking for them to help out with. And they would sign up for a period and
Have you had any communication with the high school?
have not at this time.
So this is just kind of a
I'm
thought
letting you
you've
know that
had.
this is something that we would love to have do, yes.
I want to raise my question again about the absence of a certification that this building can accommodate what you're proposing, meaning the number of people. And I mean, I understand it's soft. I mean, if somebody says, I got another client, and it's a perfect client, and you got 20 already,
At that
you're
point,
gonna be out- you're
they'll
gonna
be
be-
on our waiting list, or they could go back, we could actually open back up again in Dover.
yeah, whatever you do. But I mean, this building has been in front of this board a couple times, so we're pretty familiar with it. And we really need to know that you can get in there. You know, if it's 18, what the architect says, then it's 18.
Then it's 18.
Yeah, but we don't know that.
Well, that's
We'll guess
what I
it
was
might be a
saying.
good.
My understanding of the testimony is she would look up to those people. Right now, as Attorney said, you're gonna comply with whatever.
Whatever they allow us.
Okay, and that may be 10 people. It may be 5 people.
And could I suggest that,
We're not here to approve 20 people.
I get it.
Okay.
But I do suggest
that's what
that
she's
if
asking.
the board looks favorably upon this application, as a condition, having a certified architect go out and determine what the occupancy limit is for this
That'll
use
have
in
to
that
be done.
building, and then that's what
That
we have
has
to
to
live
be
with.
Right? Okay.
And, you know, I know that you're aware of it, that 3 houses or so down the road is a physical therapy, people, located in what used to be a house. And, you know, we have Century 21 a couple of doors down, and the church across the street. And all of 202 has always been, from the start, mixed, you know, some residential, some commercial. And I understand that that has caused problems in the past, and I understand that each one, even this own house had approval with, of other businesses and things. And
Okay.
I understand that each one you have to decide upon based on the merits that are presented.
So, a question I have, a number of people keeps coming up, and one of the things historically this board doesn't like is, we'll do this later, we'll get you this information later. We know this is being carried. Between now and the next case, can you have that architect go in and get us the numbers we're looking for?
Before I spend my client's money, Mary Jo, when this application is carried to a subsequent meeting, can you retain an architect to go determine under New Jersey code what the occupancy limit is for your?
I have no
proposed-
problem going to do that.
We'll do it.
I'll give you an example. I have a rental house down the shore. And in order to get a certification for number of sleeping, it's 70 square feet for the first person in a bedroom and 50 square feet for each additional person. Very simple. Okay, there are other requirements. And what John is sitting here saying, you know, this is we don't know. We don't know what's going on.
We're gonna get you
There's
that
two
information.
parts to it. There's going to be an occupancy load, and there's going to be a fire standard, fire safety standard.
And I think the architect
Those
can
are the
determine
two.
those both.
I should be able to, yes.
We will get that information.
Because you're dealing with an upstairs, downstairs thing. I don't remember any exterior exits to that building.
There is.
There is?
Yes, that's
Where, in the back?
At the top and the back, there's a kitchen with a sliding door that goes down Jersey winding stairs,
Okay.
I think it's somebody else who.
Oh, are they inside?
outside.
Have a question?
We done with the questioning?
No, yes.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Robert, come on up.
Sir, for the record, state your name. and
Robert
address.
Sarro, 31 Fieldcrest Road, Parsippany, New Jersey. Let me see what I'm saying. Robert Asaro, 31 Fieldcrest Road, Parsippany, New Jersey. And I guess the question I have, the first time we were here, you had mentioned that your staff was going to be parking in St. Christopher's and crossing 202. Has that plan changed?
Yes, it has.
Can I ask why?
The Archdiocese has changed their programs that if you don't have a program as part of the church, they won't allow renting of the parking any longer. So we took care of that.
Obviously, you've been very successful, and I'd like to congratulate you on that. Sounds like you did a wonderful job in expanding this business. I did hear the board asked some questions about the 20 more, but some of your answers that I heard were, well, maybe we're doing one-to-one, or maybe we might do, and I didn't hear the term, that where you might be one to more. So am I understanding properly that you're not going to have any more than 20 people
Well,
at one time?
Well, we were anticipating 20 clients at one time.
Okay.
So then they each have a one-to-one, and then we have a behaviorist, or myself that might be there kind of thing.
So that's 21. Do you have an administrator or receptionist? 41.
No,
Yeah. No receptionist,
no,
nobody?
that's a job for one of the
You have a
clients.
driver though for the bus, right?
Correct.
So he's going to be there?
Well, he'll be in the van, yeah.
Where will you be?
I typically am in my office that is in Kenville. If my BCBA is out sick, obviously I will go there and be the supervisor for that day. We're not leaving anybody
So
lonely.
BCBA is the supervisor.
Correct.
So is that a one-year business plan for 20 people? Is there a 5-year business plan you have that what you want to grow this? Because obviously you're growing this business pretty rapidly and
But
pretty well, pretty large.
Thank you. And we do it very methodically and slowly as far as that goes. We start with how many, we have, and we go from there. But we're going to be limited by the request that they've just asked us from the architect of how many we're going to be in there for fire safety and for occupancy load.
Yeah, another thing you mentioned that you're only going to be there 5 days a week, but then again, you also said that you might have picnics and parties on weekends, so.
Well, what we said was our typical day is Monday to Friday, which is from 8:30 to 4:30. On occasions, especially I would say in the summer, is that we will have an occasional, and when I say occasional, maybe one a month for the summer, where we might have a Friday night activity, we might have a Saturday, morning activity, maybe we'll do gardening. That's the kind of thing. Again, we're bringing in the kids that are already there. Just like a neighbor would have a family
picnic.
party or a picnic, sure.
So how many people will be at this picnic?
The same amount that we have now?
Well, you got the parents,
No, they won't come. This is for the adults,
this for the children,
the adults, yeah,
and the one-on-one ratio.
correct.
Quick clarification question for you. You just testified 8:30 to 4:30. Your planning report says 8 to 5, which is correct.
Well, it's 8 to 4:30, but we wanted to leave a little time in case it took extra cleaning or we had paperwork, but I will tell you that the students are going to be between 9 and 4.
And
The staff, we give a half hour to prepare and then, a half hour or so to clean up
So,
if there's somebody
so
doing.
not 8 o'clock as your planning report says.
No, that was just in case we needed a buffer either direction, to do paperwork. I didn't want to say that nobody was going to be in the
So the
building.
residents should expect traffic on that lot between 8
8.
and 5.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say, but except not the whole group.
Understood.
Okay.
But if I'm a neighbor, I'm trying to,
Yeah,
I'm
sure,
trying to
you want to
understand
see
what
a
they're
car
gonna-
there at 8
what
o'clock,
they're
you want to make sure that they belong there, correct. And that's why we put that originally, because I can't tell you my BCBA won't come in early to do paperwork ahead of time, so I didn't want to not build that in.
That's fine.
Right, and Mary Jo, assume this facility is approved, you buy it, you operate, and you're so wildly successful, you have more clients than you do it. What is your plan in that contingency?
Well, we have a waiting list that we already utilized, and then from there, we'll be looking for other homes that are like this, that we can do the same thing, because obviously the model has been successful.
But you will put in, if the architect comes back and says, hey, you can do 50, you'll go up to whatever the architect
I won't
says.
go up to 50.
Why not?
Because I can tell you, I wouldn't put my own child in there at that many, it's too many people.
But 40's okay.
Yeah, because like I said, we looked at what we felt comfortable with based on our experience, which we, have, of how many work in a room and space. So we ballparked that.
Okay, let's move ahead.
Any other members of the public, come on up. Whoever's next, come on up.
Sir, if you could state your name and spell, please.
Nicholas Homyak, Lake Hiawatha, Homyak. You said these adults, right?
Correct.
Would be picked up in Dover. So how long would the trip from Dover to Parsippany, do you think will take? And what time do they have to be in Dover to be at your,
So that I'm clear, that's my staff that would be picked up. That's not the clients. The clients get dropped off by their parents. It's my staff that would have to be there and picked up by the van and brought into work.
and then they get,
Take, at the end of the day, put in the van, take them back.
Nick,
All
are
right,
you in the
okay.
82nd Airborne?
But what does it matter what?
yes.
I think was confused that it was
Yeah,
clients.
but what is it relevant when it comes to here?
I was just wondering how much time they might have to spend on the road between point A and point B before the activities start.
He was
Because
thinking,
traffic.
he was thinking it was the clients that were being picked up in Dover and dropped off.
You think it's a ridiculous question, then?
Mr.
No, no,
Homyak,
it's-
Mr. Homyak, confine your questions to zoning,
Right.
okay?
Actually, her testimony, the questions are,
Yeah,
but he was an 82nd Airborne, so you jumped out of plane, so.
okay.
Allowed to.
Did it really?
Yep, I didn't know that.
that's the only curiosity I had, and I wasn't quite sure who was being picked up, so you clarified that for me, so I'm satisfied. Okay, thank you.
What is your policy with clients driving to the site?
My clients are not eligible to drive.
None of the high class?
I would say no, because the only one that I have that even has a license is a staff member who's autistic.
Any other questions from the public? Please come on forward.
Ma'am, if you could just state and spell your name.
Yes,
and
Pam McDonald, MacDonald, and I'm on Hillcrest Road, right next door to this property. I have in my possession here the history of the sale of this house, and I have a very important question.
And again, it's questions, yes.
Yes, oh yes, there are questions. When we spoke at the last meeting, you said you were under contract for this house since April of 2022.
Yep,
Yes, that's correct.
the realtor's here if you want.
Well, the report says June 1st, 2022. You had a closing date listed on this report of October 14th, 2022.
Can I ask a quick question? What
It's on the
reports?
report.
What report? Where is
Right
this
here.
from? I don't know what this is.
Excuse me, you can present this information when we ask if there's any members of the public who wish to testify. This is not time to testify.
I'm not testifying, I'm going to ask this woman why it's taken her a year to get before the board.
That's a good question.
Why? Is that,
Because we
when
run
did we
very
file this
slow.
application?
Well, I don't know, but you're under contract
I get it.
since June 1st, according to this report.
Excuse me, we have no proof of that.
I do.
But you can't present it for crying out loud! I'm gonna be blunt, is English your first language?
Yes.
God bless you.
God bless me is right. My second language is
You
Italian.
cannot present evidence at this point in the meeting.
Okay, but my question is to this woman, why is she here now? It's almost a year later.
Because do you know how long it takes to get before this board? Do you have any idea?
Yes, I do.
Okay, how long does it take? How long does it take?
I was one of the people who gave a lot of input to the master plan. I've been here for 50 years. I know
God
how
bless
long
you.
it takes.
How long have you been on the zoning board?
Not many, but I.
Have you been on this board?
No,
Okay.
but I'm certainly qualified to be.
I could represent.
You're most qualified, but your question you're asking.
If this could help, I'm one of the attorneys I'm doing the land use side of it. My partner's doing the more real estate side of it, but we are under contract. The seller really wants to know, I probably have to send an email tonight saying what happened tonight, but we've been under contract. We've been waiting patiently for the opportunity to present our case. We are doing it as diligent, as fast as we can, but.
When was this application filed?
November 22.
Probably late last year.
In October?
October. This application was filed in October. It is now April, 6 months later.
Okay.
That's not reasonable to you? That they're here today?
That's fine. But we have the closing date listed on this report.
Well, the report.
What does that got to do with how long it takes to get before this board?
That's okay, don't.
Okay. It has nothing to do with what we're here
Closing
for.
date on a report.
Do you have any more questions?
The two attorneys have to come up with the date.
Any more questions for her?
But I think my question is.
It was a good question. Do you have any more questions?
Your question is terrible.
Why it takes
It's a terrible question, because it has nothing to do with
Well,
zoning.
wait, okay, if I can, we were scheduled, I believe in March, but then there was not enough time on the agenda, we got carried till April. But then April, there wasn't a full five, I don't think there was 5 members available, and we need 5 yes votes.
That's right.
So then we
That's
got
right.
carried to tonight, and the board was kind enough to put us on, that's the first commercial application on this
Okay, let's
evening.
move ahead.
So we
And you're
appreciate
a
that.
contract purchaser, so you're not gonna purchase, your client's not gonna purchase this property unless she gets approval.
Correct.
So they have to get the approvals. Once they get the approvals, that's where they're gonna close.
And the seller has been, patient, as sellers are seldom.
Let's go.
Well, when you're under contract.
Looks like you're more.
When you're under contract, has nothing to do with the zoning. We've had applications 5 years it takes to get through this board, and then another 5 years before they start building.
Looks like you are more anxious
I
than
needed
the
this
seller.
tonight.
Sir, if you could just,
Two very direct questions.
what's your address? I'm sorry.
Sorry, 50 Fieldcrest Road.
50, thank you.
When you said the clients will be part of the community,
Mhm.
what is the radius of the reach? Like, are they wandering around the neighborhood? Are they, what's that radius?
They could take a walk around the neighborhood, sure, but we're really looking at getting out into the community of Parsippany, going to the mall, going to the stores, working in shops, working,
So on foot and supervised.
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
The second question is, when you say this business is unlicensed by the state, who does it audit, right? You say, okay, 40 person in that building, who audits that?
Well, I can tell you, our current ones, the fire marshals are in, and, they come through and they see if if we're in ratio or we're not in ratio.
But not every day.
No, not every day.
Does the municipal board of health get in at all?
The municipal board of health is in there.
That's a good question.
Thank you. Any other questions by the board? Come on, I'm sure you've been waiting patiently. Come on up.
Ma'am, Nick,
Jackie Puka, and I'm at 21 Hillcrest Road.
and Puka, how do you spell that, please?
Like Frank, UCA, I know it's.
Okay.
So, are you operating currently at that site?
At which site?
Little.
The one in question,
No.
you know?
Nope, not at all.
There's tenants, the seller has tenants in the property.
Okay, so that's who's there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though we're the contract purchaser, the seller is still renting it out to tenants.
Who's next? Come on up. Come on, question, come on up.
Before you speak, would you mind making sure the microphone's on? It should be a green light on it.
Working?
Yep.
Alvin Casper, 41 Fieldcrest Road.
Okay, first name?
Alvin, A-L-B, as boy, I-N, Casper with a K, K-S-P. I'd like to ask if you have done an extensive research, or extensive search for properties that would not you would not need to seek approvals for any further.
We were looking for 2 years. We had, one we were under contract with in Denville, that fell apart, and now we continue to look, and now we found this one. Like I said, we're very specific of what we're looking for. We're looking for a house. We're not looking to be in an office complex or a storefront.
Second question. If you buy this house and you get the approvals and you hit your limit, would you seek to possibly get approvals for the house next door to that one too? Or the house next to that one?
I mean, if we're looking at this, and we would look at anything that was on the market. I can't, expand it out. I mean.
Thank you. Any other questions by the board? By the members of the public? Nobody else? We're done with this witness? Thank you.
Thank you.
You got another witness? Maybe we can do one
Yes.
more tonight before we turn to
Yeah.
pumpkins?
I'd like to call Donna Bullock. Donna is our site engineer. I'd like to have her sworn in.
Raise your right hand, man. You swear affirm testimony about to give before the board is true self you got?
Yes.
And for the record, can you state and spell your name?
Donna M. Bullock,
Bullock.
And your testimony will be?
As a professional engineer, I have my professional license, it's active. I've been in the, giving testimony for 25 years now.
Have you been, so you've been either sworn before this board or other boards in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I have.
Thank you, and all those licenses are in full force and effect?
Yes, they are.
Mr. Chairman, the witness has been sworn and qualified.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Donna, you were involved with the great amount of site engineering proposed for
Yes.
this site. Can you, maybe by going to the board, first explain what the original plan was, what the county said about that original plan, and how you plan to comply with both Mr. Holloway's comments as well as the county's requirements?
Don't forget the mic.
It has to be green.
Thank you.
Green.
Green. Okay, well, we have a,
Describe what's up on the easel.
this is our plan, sheet number 2 of 4 of the site plan set that I will be referring to. And on the left side is a site layout plan, and on the right side is a grading plan. It is a 0.57 acre site. It's within the R3 zone. It's on the south side of Littleton Road. The property currently consists of 2.5 story building and a shed, and a paved parking area, and a driveway. What the applicant is proposing is to increase the driveway width to 24 feet, pave, compile a parking area that will have 8 parking spaces, including 1 handicapped. We show, well, I'll get to that in a second, and a fence, and that's what they're proposing. During a review by the county planning board, they had asked us to remove this 14-foot wide, 12-foot wide circular drive. So we have agreed to do that with the board, with the county planning board. So basically, what that means is we're seeking a waiver for percent lot coverage. So without this portion of the driveway, the percent lot coverage will go down to 34.3% instead of the 38.6% as initially submitted.
On that plan, how much additional new paving is proposed by this applicant?
I'm going to highlight in yellow the area that's existing pavement, and I hope it can be seen. Does everyone see that?
So how many additional spaces are being proposed by this applicant as far as per site plan? And explain why there's a little further bump into the backyard with that pavement.
Well, it looks like if you striped it out, we're adding 3 more spaces to what's currently there based on width. And the bump out in the back would be utilized for the people who are backing out so that they don't run into any grass or anything as they exit the driveway. We're also proposing a patio area behind the dwelling so that there's area for people to sit and stay and, do whatever they want to do outside.
So pavement, patio, fence.
Yes.
Any other site related improvement?
There might be other minor improvements, but as far as the plan shows, that's it.
Now, you received Mr. Holloway's review report?
Yes, I did, dated November 29th, 2022.
In order to kind of help expedite things, is there anything that Mr. Holloway either suggested or required that you take exception to and have any problem with?
We have no exception to the items, except I would like to just say, number 1, that the percent lot coverage has, number 1, they wanted to know what the building lot coverage was, and that's 7%, and we'll include that into our table. And as far as drainage, we'd like to work with the engineer and maybe do some type of rain garden or something here. That would be, better looking for the environment. And item number 12, we do indicate to the north side of the property that there's a 15-foot right-of-way per FM, per filed map. That right-of-way is a utility right-of-way. We will add that note to it, so we know it's not a right-of-way for cars or anything like that. And we're going to utilize the existing utilities, and there will be a sign proposed that will conform with the ordinance.
Now, assuming that this board approves this application and Mary Jo purchases the property and proceeds, as part of resolution compliance, would you agree to make all those changes to the site plan to conform with Mr. Holloway's comments?
Yes, we will.
I have no further questions.
I've got one on this particular map. So on the side there, it looks like there's a proposed wall mount light. Do we know what time that'll be lit up, and obviously what the amount of light it's gonna be given off? I know the neighbors around the neighborhood probably, it's a
I'm
bright
sorry.
one. Are the other one, and there looks like there's two in the front as well, but there's nothing saying they're proposed.
Sorry.
Both wall
That's
mounted.
so long. Okay, we have presented a lighting plan on sheet 3 of 4, and it does show that those 3 wall-mounted lights that you just pointed out to, 1, 2, 3, are wall-mounted at 10 feet high, and we do have a point-by-point lighting isolux for you. And there's also, no, that's it. That's the 3 signs.
To answer a specific question, would those be on a timer to go off at night so they're not up all night bothering neighbors?
I would have to ask that of the property owner.
But they could be put on a timer so that, because the facility's not being used late at night, they would go off.
Yes, they can.
And would you, on behalf of the applicant, have any issues with that?
No issues.
And those are 3 lights, not 3 signs.
Sorry, 3 lights.
Scared me there for a while.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say signs?
Speaking of signs, are you gonna speak to signs, or is someone else gonna speak to signs?
I don't, I'm fairly certain a sign is contemplated, and it'll have to be conforming, because we don't have a plan.
The only thing you can have in that residential zone is a nameplate sign.
Yeah, so, it'll have to be conforming, so otherwise there'll be no sign. Again,
Well, if the clientele is going to change over time, they're not gonna be there for their, going to a job in the same building for so many years. They're gonna be changing. They're gonna need a sign that they don't go whizzing by it.
now, I know the.
I think you ought to think about it.
Yeah, I think the thought was to have one of those nice wood carved or composite.
Whatever it is,
Right.
you need to have it so they can look at it.
Okay. All right.
Because if it's, the nameplate sign allowed in the zone, it's worthless.
So, in anticipation of when we resume, we'll have a detail.
Okay, I have a couple of questions in a report dated October 28. One of them you've addressed already, you got rid of that loop driveway, and that was kind of what the comment was all about. The other one is the amount of parking spaces. The testimony we had is we have 2 vans, correct?
Total for the business.
Right, and they may both be there part of the day.
Correct.
We have no traffic from employees. The turnover for the clientele of a max of 20 would be expected to be, how many spaces do you need? I mean, I'll go to the daycare center. At the daycare center, basically, you try to look for 1 to 7, 1 to 8 kids.
I see where you're going, John. Mary Jo, any issues with losing the 3 additional?
I mean, you decide to expand a parking lot
Do
for
you need
some,
those 3 additional parking?
No, we would, keep it in mind that we were talking about the number of parents that would be coming in and dropping off, even staggered. We don't have to have it, it was just trying to make it a little bit. My concern is as one's pulling in, one's pulling out, because it's a single driveway, I wanted to make sure that there was okay, they're gonna have a spot, pull in, and then I'll pull out. But I don't have any problem.
well, how many spaces do you have there now?
I think it's 8. I think it's 5, and I think that just expanded it to 8. So it allowed that, Parents going out.
I got you. You don't need to have
parents to drop off a kid.
Maybe you should relook at that a little bit,
I'm more than happy to.
to save you a little money. The patio, is that patio concrete, pavers, dirt?
Pavers.
Pavers, rain goes through? Okay.
On sand, right? Set on sand.
Yes, pavers on sand.
Any other questions by the board?
I have a question regarding the
Yes, sir.
adjustment of the parking area. Do you still need 3 external lights, or would one of the lights be okay to be removed or reduced?
Yeah, based on our lighting layout, it does, yes, it appears that we can eliminate a light, and there'd be enough foot candles to reach the 5 existing stalls.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we'll be fine with that.
Is that parking lot in good shape? I can't remember. Yes. She's saying yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's expanded for spaces, so it's, okay. No question.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, members of the public, any questions of this witness on the testimony given this evening? Please come forward.
Hand them the mic.
Again, just for the record,
Robert Asaro, 31 Fieldcrest Road, Parsippany, New Jersey. When I viewed the plan at the board office, I saw a horseshoe driveway that was going to be added to the property. Has that been removed, or is that going to stay?
Yes, that has been removed.
That has been removed. I also heard that there was going to be a fence erected. I didn't hear you say anything about a fence.
I did mention the fence.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Can you point out where the fence is
Yes.
going?
Do you need a variance for the fence, or is it conforming?
It's, he shows the 6-foot high fence in the front yard area. It'll have to be cut back.
It lines up with the house.
So with the back of the house goes across? Is that what I'm looking, I'm partially blind, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the fence runs from the south side corner of the house to the rear, then along the rear property line, and then all the way down to the right-of-way of Littleton Road.
And that piece that's coming down Littleton Road will either have to be eliminated or changed to a picket 4 feet high or less.
50% open.
Yes, we'll transition it to a 50% open, 4-foot high, at the building setback line.
Which is permitted.
I didn't hear anything about any shrubbery or greenery or screening shrubs going along the fence or along the back of the property or along the side of the property.
Sorry. We have not proposed landscaping for this site.
Could I ask why? You have any consideration for the neighbors?
We can
Or is
do
it about
that.
making the money? I mean,
Yes, we will prepare a landscaping plan for review for the board.
How high are you gonna put it plant? How high of the tree and what type of shrubs would you put in?
I'll present that on the plan. I'm not a landscape architect, so I really wouldn't know. I'd have to give it to a landscape architect in our office to prepare.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public?
sir, just for the record, state your name, please.
Nicholas Homiak, can you tell me if there is any, do any trees exist on the property, any rhododendrons or anything?
There
Are
are
they
several
presently there?
large trees on the site.
And,
One would have had to have been removed if we expanded the parking in the easterly direction, but now that we've determined that we only need 5 spaces, that one tree in that location that would have had to be removed can stay now.
so how many trees are there?
There were 2 trees that we anticipated removing.
Wouldn't the trees be considered as a pleasant aspect for your clientele?
What we were looking at as engineers was looking at the 3 trees that are currently in the way of the expansion of the proposed parking area. There's one that is closer to the road that would be in the way of constructing the handicap spot. And then there were two other trees to the east of the existing edge of pavement that we would have had removed. But because we're stopping the edge of pavement and not extending to add those additional parking spaces, 2 of those large trees do not have to be removed.
Right, and what else was I gonna say here? Oh, yeah, will your pavement be porous or will it be regular asphalt?
It will be a porous pavement.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Come
I
on
have a
up.
letter of objection.
Come on
Members,
up.
questions, of course, pavers.
Come on up.
Okay.
Name first, address
Guys,
second.
I'd like to make a correction. She used the wrong word. When she meant porous pavement, she meant the pavers in the patio, but not the asphalt in the driveway will not be porous. Yeah, we're not putting that in.
I was impressed.
That's too pricey.
It's gonna be
They're
a
gonna
poured,
put my foot down there.
it's gonna be
No.
poured concrete or asphalt.
Asphalt.
Okay.
I have a letter, excuse me, I have a letter from Mr. Pianotti, who lives at 89.
I don't wanna hear about it.
You don't want to hear about it?
I do not
When
wanna
can
hear
I-
about it. If
when
she
can I
wants,
submit this letter then?
you can't.
Can't.
We can't take a letter from somebody we don't even know who he is. How am I gonna ask that letter a question?
There you go.
Well, I didn't have.
You have 50 years of experience with this, I thought.
I've written quite a few letters, you know, saying I'm in favor of your, especially for Don Michalowski.
For here, for this board, and guess what? We've ignored every one.
They've all been thrown away. Wasted the ink.
You good tonight? You're good?
We cannot,
Oh, I'm gonna work for that.
we cannot accept documentation like that. If you want to ask a question, you have to be here to ask the question. If you want to testify, you have to be here under oath so that we can cross-examine you if necessary.
Well, they don't have to bring Mr. Pianotti in,
Bring him in.
You too.
but he is in.
I'll give you a hand.
But that's okay.
There you go.
Any other questions by the board, by the members of the public? I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Come on up. Come on up, Mr. Sarah.
This is crazy. What a night.
In reference to the trees, do I have to say my name again?
I said, come on up, Mr. Sarah.
There you go, that covers me, huh?
How long have we known each other? A long time, right?
Too long.
You're a Nutley boy, right?
That's right. You're a Belleville boy, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's why we used to kick your butt in football.
That's right, every year.
Basically, there's a walnut tree, a very large walnut tree in the backyard, and,
Black walnut?
yes, and that's been assessed to be rotted out in the center core. Is there any intentions of taking that down because it is leaning? And from the previous owner, when he sold that property, he never took care of it. And I know of a tree guy that went there, because I referred him, that said that that tree could come down with a major storm.
The lady in the back is shaking her head yes.
Yes, it's right in the area that we want to put the patio, so yes.
We'll take it
We'll
down.
take it down.
Okay.
No problem.
Consider it gone.
Yeah.
Any other members of the public? That's it? That's it? Okay.
Thank you, Donna.
We have 25 minutes if you want to start, Mr.
Mr. McDonough.
Mr. McDonough. Mr. McDonough is always,
I think we'll be able to get it.
his testimony is always very entertaining, so.
Down.
Sir, you raise your right hand, you swear affirm testimony about to give before the board is yourself you got.
Yes, I do.
And for the record, can you state, spell your name?
Sure. Hi there, everyone. My name is John McDonough. It's spelled MC, capital B-O-N-O-U-G-H.
And your testimony will be?
I am a licensed professional planner. I'm the project planner.
And all your licenses are in full force and effect?
Yes, they are, both
And-
on the state and national level.
And you've provided testimony before this board and other boards in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. You're sworn. Mr. Chairman, the witness has been sworn and qualified.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Now, you've heard all the testimony this evening from Mary Jo and from Donna. You've heard the public comments. What I'd like you to do is, I mean, other than just going through your planning testimony, I'd like you to talk about the use, what the use means with respect to the D variance and those standards, and even if it's to the extent you find it's inherently beneficial, and if not, what are those standards that apply, and how do you believe that this application has met the standards for a D variance?
Sure, and we issued a planning report dated January 7th, 2023, that really will form the outline of what I'm going to give the board here. And I think the board well knows the criteria for an inherently beneficial use. Those are a category of uses that are presumptively so good, so advancing of the public good, that they automatically satisfy the positive criteria. This may well be considered that, but I'm actually going to walk the board through the more stringent test as though it was not inherently beneficial, because I think the more stringent test of site suitability is met here, whether or not the board finds that inherently beneficial is met.
And just for the reasoning that it's inherently beneficial?
Again, it is a intermediate care facility as defined under 66.2 under the statute.
Is it comparable to the use that was in the famous Sika case, where that involved a doctor who provided kind of similar services?
There's a whole category.
He was a brain doctor.
Yes.
But he was a for-profit brain doctor.
What does that have to do with the autistic?
No, in terms of neurological care. I think that the issue with Sika
I withdraw the comment.
Yeah, but can a for-profit business be ever inherently beneficial? In that case, that yes, it can be. It meets the standard.
Okay. There are a whole category of uses in the MLUL under 66.2 that pertain to community residences. One of them was Dr. Sika's facility, which was a head trauma facility, where that application was actually denied. And that's where the Sika test was applied, went to the courts and reversed on grounds of a different test, a simplified test. I'm not going to go through the simplified test. I'm actually going to go through the more stringent Medici test. But the question was asked, so we put that out there.
Test that?
Sure. So to augment what I put forth in my planning report,
A1?
A1 for the record, we're going to put together a series of photographs to show the characteristic of Littleton Road. We've got some supplemental photographs in the report as well. I'll wait for that to catch up as it goes through, but just to establish my familiarity with this particular road, this particular section of Parsippany, I went to Woodlawn Junior High, I went through the 3 years there, and then 4 years over at Part Hills, which are right around the corner. So I drove Littleton Road every day. I still do because my office is right down the road. So
Who gets to play with the drone?
that is the licensed drone operator in the office. It's not me. It's not me. So this is what the property looked like at the end of December, right before Christmas. It's a fair and accurate representation of the property. It is a beautiful home, a beautiful old colonial home here that dates back to circa 1820. We know that this is occupied as a mixed-use building. It's about a half-acre piece of land. And one of the findings that created this as a mixed-use building by variance, which had commercial on the bottom level and residential on the top level, in a residential zone, was the fact that the use was preserving the building that's there and the historic nature of it, the fabric of it, and again, the aesthetic appeal of it. This applicant is doing the exact same thing here. This is not a knockdown to replace with some type of institutional-looking building. This is going to look like a residential building in a residential zone. And importantly, as we show the board from both the air and from the ground, again, you do get a sense of the natural aesthetic and openness of this particular piece of property. The last thing I want to point out for the board is the characteristic of Littleton Road. I think we all know, as you can see in your land use map, there are a mix of uses along Littleton Road. It is certainly zoned a residential neighborhood, but we do have a nicely commingled mix of non-residential uses, including commercial uses, including institutional uses, even including a few industrial uses along the way as well. So there is this nice melting pot along this primary corridor in your community. So that's one of the reasons why we think this use is a good match in this location and is not incompatible with the character of the neighborhood. And also by virtue of the condition of the property, which is already half commercial. The applicant is simply looking to take the rest of the building and use the upper level for commercial or institutional purposes as well. To walk you through the aspect of the report, again, Littleton Road is a main corridor in the community. It's developed with a nicely commingled mix of uses. You've heard the testimony this evening that this is going to be adaptive reuse for All About the Journey, which provides support services for persons with autism. These services, as you've heard from Mary Jo's testimony, includes behavioral, speech, and occupational therapies. I have in my notes here staffing for about 10 employees. Hours of operation, weekdays 8 to 5, with flexibility for some nighttime or weekend activities. In terms of the zone, no doubt about it, we are in a residential zone. This is the R3 zone district, which does permit one-family homes, but also does permit community centers and specialized housing for persons with developmental disabilities. So conceivably, by right, a community home for persons with developmental disabilities could live here around the clock. Very similar demographic to what the applicant is proposing here, if not the identical demographic falling under that category. So whenever we look at a use variance application, we look at the degree of departure from the zone scheme and whether that degree is substantial. Again, you do have a zone scheme here that does allow for these types of institutional uses with essentially the same demographic that the applicant would have here during the day as opposed to around the clock living in this building. Permitted conditional uses include schools here. I think you may have heard about the Allegro School over in Cedar Knolls, which also provides the exact same services that are being provided here as well, and home occupations, which comes along with it with a whole bunch of non-residential aspects as well. The zone relief, the primary relief is D1 use relief to allow a behavioral therapy facility which is not expressly permitted in the zone, and then interrelated relief for lot coverage, which, as I understand it through our engineering testimony, has gone down. It's still above that 30%, so we're looking for interrelated relief to modify the parking. In terms of the justification for the relief, again, there's 4 parts to the Medici test, and we're going to walk you through each and every one of those. First part of the test focuses on the land itself. That's why we have land use planning, is all land use planning comes back to the land. And we've given you the reasons photographically and verbally as well as to how the site is particularly suited for the use by virtue of its context and by virtue of its condition. Contextually, again, it's on a main road that serves a nice mix of uses besides residential. This is not going to make up or break up a pattern along Littleton Road, but we do have these spots of non-residential uses. Condition-wise, again, importantly, the project is going to retain and repurpose a very attractive colonial-style building as opposed to a knockdown and starting over. Second part of the test moves us from the land and moves us over to the land use law and the purposes of zoning and why we zone in the first place. We've given you those reasons as well. The project is going to deliver a beneficial use for all of the reasons that you've heard through the testimony of the operator. Again, the public interest at stake here is public health, to provide support services for persons and families affected by autism, to help individuals lead successful lives, productive lives, and a facility that caters to both children and adults affected by autism in a fun, functional setting. Why in a residential setting? Integration. You don't want to put the individuals that come here in a commercial or institutional setting, again, as a place of comfort, as a place of social gathering. The residential setting is the perfect integration, and that's why this is a good fit here. Next part of the test moves us, well, let me just stick with that for a second. The project is going to promote efficient land use by retaining the colonial-style building that's there. The efficient use of land is a fundamental goal of planning as well. Another fundamental goal of planning is positive aesthetic. It's a beautiful building. It's going to look and feel the same as we go forward. The project also will promote a fundamental planning goal for a variety of uses in appropriate locations, underscoring the last part of that clause, which is according to the needs of all New Jersey citizens. It is responsible planning to plan for all persons, and again, that's exactly what this applicant is going to deliver here. All of these tie back to purposes of the land use law, especially Purpose A, Purpose G, Purpose I, and Purpose M. Third part of the test focuses on the potentially negative impacts, and I think they've been well vetted by this board. It's what this board does very well. Questions from the public. As we stand here now, all potential impacts have been addressed by the testimony on the record, and I believe that the project will flow, function, operate safely, comfortably, efficiently, without creating any substantially adverse impacts, creating unsafe conditions or nuisances. In that regard, I believe the third part of the test is met in that relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public. The fourth part of the test takes everything I just said and asks us to reconcile with the vision, what the zone plan says here, and the zone plan does not permit this here. So again, we come back to that degree of departure. As I said, the site has already been approved and operated with a non-residential use on the ground floor. We can certainly find that this relief relates to a distinct site. We're not promoting this use throughout the R3 zone. We don't think it's tantamount to a rezone, but relates to a specific and distinct piece of property. Importantly, we always come back to your master plan, and this project is going to advance multiple purposes, goals, and objectives of your 2020 master plan. And just to put them on the record here, they're in the report, but we will underscore certain pages of the master plan, including goal number 5, which states, these are the master plan's words, not mine, consider creative alternatives as appropriate, including reusing and repurposing the existing building stock in the overall context of the township's land use planning goals. Goal number 9, ensure that the township has adequate municipal facilities and resources to effectively and efficiently meet the service needs of people living in, working in, and visiting Parsippany. And then goal number 11, encourage new development and redevelopment to take into account the aesthetic character of the community in an effort to enhance the visual and aesthetic appearance of the community. Since the original master plan was adopted in 1975, land planning in Parsippany has recognized higher order roadways, such as Littleton Road, as distinctive from local roads in terms of serving residential neighborhoods. So again, in that regard, I believe the board can find that degree of departure here from other permitted uses and from what's contemplated in the zone scheme is not substantial, and therefore relief at this location will not be a substantial impairment to the zone plan. Certainly, if the board finds that this use is inherently beneficial as a residence for developmentally disabled or within that category of group home, you could say that the positive criteria are automatically satisfied. If you don't, we've given you the reasons why the positive criteria are satisfied. And then lastly, the relief related to the coverage on the property is a slight uptick over what the ordinance would allow. We think it's been mitigated and addressed by our engineer, that it will not cause any negative or substantial negative impacts, and is all in the interest of, I'll say, finishing off the parking, bringing it up to contemporary ADA standards. And this is a parking lot that's been there for several years. This will modernize it and modify it to meet current standards. With that said, I think based on all the testimony, the board can move favorably on this application, hitting all of the criteria, and in that regard, I would say approval is warranted.
I appreciate your testimony, Mr. McDonough. No question.
John, you know, I've heard your testimony for 34 years, okay? So this is not new to me. But, and I understand everything you said, and the inherently beneficial use and everything about it. But don't you have some concerns about it, that it seems like the interior operations right now are kind of a moving target? And can we make a decision based on that I think we need more information. And I think with the proper information, we can make a reasonable,
No doubt that the board can impose reasonable conditions. If that's a discussion before a vote, that's up to the board.
I thought there was agreement that we were gonna get an architect to both deal with fire safety and pure occupancy.
Yes, and the applicant has agreed that before it asks for a vote, we'd be willing to get an architect to provide that type of information to the board in advance of whenever we're carried to. So the board will be provided, and as well as a landscaping plan, as well as sign detail. So that
And
the
the
board-
revised plan taking the driveway out
Yes,
and whatever.
and we can have all that in advance of the next carry date. Hopefully, it's not too far in the future.
One question, John, you cited the definition from what source was that?
66.2.
Yeah, 60, I have the laptop wherever I left it, but it's section 66.2 talks about community residences for the developmentally disabled as being a permitted use.
In what, the zoning code?
The land use, MLUL.
Oh.
Yeah. That says community residences for the developmentally disabled shall be a permitted use, in all residentially zoned.
That's not this.
That, it does use the language of intermediate care facilities under that definition. It's a running definition, and I think under Medicare, I mean, this is something we would have.
Yeah, but this
The
is,
testimony was, we're not intermediate care, we're a private, functioning facility dealing with autistic personnel, period.
Yeah, I think the
Intermediate care is much broader
the
than that.
testimony was that it's analogous, so it's comparable to what the state encourages. So, yes, it is not that, but it is comparable.
so then should it be licensed?
No, not, if it was going for the use that Mr. McDonough
Well,
described, that would be a license.
She was correct. If she takes state money, then she has to get licensed. And that's why I kept going back and forth, and finally it dawned on me, the facilities I had dealt with all had
Got
state
state
funds,
money, yeah.
got state money.
So if you don't take state money, that's the,
You don't have to be licensed.
You don't
it's
have to
not
have
the
a
care
state
you
license.
provide?
You don't have to have a state if you don't have to get a state license, if you don't take money from the state function.
You don't have to have a license to run a school, no, if you don't take state money or, seek their accreditation.
Again, that's for the facility being licensed versus the individual therapists who are licensed.
it's also, when you take state or federal money, accounting, financial statements required, things like that, audits. It's, changes the whole complexion of what you're doing. I get, Board, any questions of Mr., okay, members of the public, do you have any questions of Mr. McDonough on the testimony given this evening? Please come forward. Somebody, anybody? Yeah, you can come first.
For the record, just state your name and spell it.
Denise Michael, Michael.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought I heard Mr. McDonough say that there'll be services such as speech therapy, physical therapy performed out of this location as well. So that would increase the total on-hand personnel at any given time, correct?
Is that the question?
No.
I didn't hear that.
I did not say that.
Oh, I thought I heard speech therapy.
Those are the kinds of services they're gonna provide, but it doesn't make, in addition to the other people coming there.
We don't know
So
that.
they wouldn't have
Those are part of
outside-
the definition.
They
No,
wouldn't have
she's saying it's
outside-
not. She's,
I'm not providing those in this location.
Okay.
What he was talking about was,
Provides it, but not at this location.
okay.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. All right, thank you.
okay, you're welcome.
You're a pretty sharp cookie. You did, St. Christopher's, didn't you?
I did.
I know, yeah. Did I understand correctly that you said that it falls under an inherently beneficial use?
I did not. I walked the board through the more stringent Medici test.
Okay,
I use that word.
you did.
I did.
Okay, I heard something of that. And in your testimony, you read about our current zoning.
Yes.
Yeah, and you had mentioned a bunch of things about redevelopment, and if you can help me go back and read them to me again, please?
The goals of the master plan?
That's correct.
Is that what it was?
That's correct.
So I read goal, number 5 was consider creative alternatives as appropriate, including reusing, repurposing existing building stock in the concept of the townships.
Can I stop you each one to make it easy for me? So would that be for repurposing commercial property or residential properties?
It doesn't say.
So it could be not meant for a residential R1, R3 zone, correct?
It's a broad umbrella. It says.
So if you were representing me, that would be what you would say, would you not?
I would say what it says. It says repurpose the existing building stock. I'm not going.
But that's ambiguous.
Doesn't say housing stock, it says building stock.
That could have been for like Lenadex. That could have been meant for those properties. It could be like for Sylvan Way, the old Wells Fargo building. Could be for the nursing home.
These are questions.
Is this a question?
I read it as.
Could it be for them?
I read it as intentionally broad.
Okay, let's go to the next question.
Optimize flexibility.
What's the next question you had said?
Goal number 9, ensure that the township has adequate municipal facilities and resources to effectively and efficiently meet the service needs of people living in, working in, and visiting Parsippany.
Okay, so again, that could be in a commercial zone, could it not?
Correct.
Thank you. Next question.
Goal number 11, encourage new development and redevelopment to take into account the aesthetic character of the community in an effort to enhance the visual and aesthetic appearance of the municipality.
And you feel that not by redeveloping the building and knocking it down, that's doing that, if I understand you correctly?
Right,
What about 20 people, 40 people going in and out of that building on a daily basis? Does that enhance the
resolution that approved this building as a mixed-use building cited the fact that it was retaining the building as a good thing, as one of the reasons why.
It's another point that I want to bring out. You said mixed use. So mixed use was, I believe, I don't know the correct term, maybe you can help me out with that, where someone that lives there operates a business downstairs with a small volume of customers coming in to see him, i.e. maybe a psychologist, maybe an accountant, an attorney, a graphic artist that does not have people that come in. So I guess I don't see a parallel. How do you see that parallel? Maybe you can explain that to me.
What about a doctor?
If it's a country doctor, I could see that. With, one doctor, not 5, not a medical center.
A medical use could go on that ground floor.
One doctor. He's got to live upstairs, right?
I don't see a cap on the number of patients.
He's got to live upstairs, right? A doctor only can see so many patients an hour.
Not in this building. There's a divide or disconnect between the occupant of the lower level and the occupant of the upper levels. Don't have to be, this is not a work center.
Wasn't the previous approval for the person that lived there to operate an office?
We can get clarity on it, but my understanding was no.
We have situations where approvals were given so that the doctor did not have to live there anymore. I won't get into the details, but it was on a main street and he had young children, and he opted to keep his practice there. Once he had kids, he couldn't afford to have his kids playing on a main street, so we gave him a variance. This is not this house.
Yeah.
We gave him a variance where the doctor could maintain the house or he could live there, but he couldn't rent both. Okay, so there's precedent in the town for that.
There is.
Mhm.
Talking about precedent, once this gets approved, it becomes strictly a commercial profit business. She outgrows it, she sells it. What happens then? What will happen to that property? If I'm not mistaken, that approval would move forward to any other new owner.
A variance runs with the land, but the variance can certainly be hooked to conditions to contain the use, so that it's not so that it doesn't turn into something undesirable there.
All right,
So
so
that's
that,
up to the testimony on the record.
so now, this gets approved, it goes through, and once that happens, we have, Serbo has an empty building about 3 doors down. That can, now, if they came for a variance, a precedent's set, and it makes it harder for the board to say no to them, because the precedent was already set there. Is that correct?
No, there's, again,
Each case is individually viewed, but if a precedent's set, that precedent is something that the board has to consider.
No, not for a new piece of property.
So we don't have to consider any precedents then on this case,
What I
correct?
said gave to you before, that there is
Okay.
an example where evidence was presented to allow the doctor to move out of the house and keep his practice there,
Mhm.
okay? But there was a lot of restrictions on it. And sometime later, the doctor came back and said, well, I don't want my practice there, I don't want to live there, I want to rent the two facilities, and we said no,
Okay,
okay?
thank you. The other points that you had made?
That was it.
That was it.
We're fine. Yeah.
So, those points, and just to we clarify everything, those points could be based on commercial properties, could it not? That's what they could have meant on that, correct?
No, this was.
They're not specifically saying we can do this in an R1 zone or an R3 zone.
I'm not sure if I follow the question.
I think the question is that, can you tell if the master plan goals were to be limited to certain zones and not apply to other zones?
No. You're not.
Okay, thank you. I hope the board considers.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
This is my house. That was
Ma'am,
supposed
just
to
for
be-
the record, your name?
Oh, Pam McDonald,
Pam McDonald.
McDonald, yes. That's my house. How is it going to be affected?
It's an open question, but
Yeah.
visually, it's not, what you see now is not going to change. In fact, as I understand it, there's a landscape plan forthcoming. There could be more screening here if you don't like looking
Okay,
at that
that's
house.
my property right down there, yes. It goes with this fence right down here.
Right. So there's all this green area between your property and the subject property. And again, we have an applicant here that is willing to put in landscaping.
What kind of landscaping?
The testimony was they don't know yet.
Yeah.
Let's get the next
Makes me know. I don't want any commercial buildings right here. No. Period.
Got it in a question mark, not a period.
Keep it up, Dave.
I know. Don't worry.
I get punched after 10.
10 o'clock.
Whenever you're on the board.
Sir, your
Yeah,
name?
Nicholas Homyak. Getting back to goal 9, where you say enhanced living and working in Parsippany. Now, wouldn't you say that pertains particularly to people who already live in Parsippany and in particular neighborhoods? And if the people in that neighborhood felt disturbed or disgruntled by a zoning proposal, that that they should be upheld because of losing the character of their neighborhood. Would you think that could be an intention for goal number 9?
No,
May-
no. The Medici case itself is the one that says a zoning board decision, it specifically says it should not be based on the number of people in the room.
Can't be.
Well, so you wouldn't expect any resistance because you're using the Medici code, so anything anybody said as opposed to this would be negated by the Medici code?
This is your master plan. These are words
Right.
from your master plan that went through a whole community engagement process. These are the words of your master plan.
These people right here in this neighborhood, this part of the master plan right now is affecting them or anyone who feels that Parsippany shouldn't,
That's a question, right?
yes, it is a question.
I'm going to objection and a polite one. You said, Mr. McDonough, wasn't your testimony that you believe that this proposed use would not change the character of the community?
Correct.
Because his question was premised on that this is a change in the character of the community. Can you address that?
Sure, again, aesthetically, functionally, this is going to remain a positive integration with the neighborhood. Visually, it's not going to change. It's going to stay as it is.
But it'll be a business. It won't be a resident. That's, so I would say, I would agree with Mr. Osauer that goal 9 is for the neighborhood to decide. And the last question, you also said, the driveway, it would be up to current standards. Well, it was testified that the driveway would be asphalt, would be, not be porous, would be impervious. So, I would think that an upstandard would be porous asphalt.
It's not true.
I think what you mean by upgrading, we're gonna provide a proper ADA accessible space. That's the upgrade.
To consider the water going into the ground, which Parsippany has problems with.
All right.
All right, I would think that,
What was the date for putting?
my question would be that you, all right, you do feel that the driveway is up to standards, even though it's not the latest, technology that can be used, something rather than asphalt to permit the water to infiltrate the ground?
It's really an engineering question.
Let's go. It's like,
Okay.
the engineer will provide us with, documentation if runoff control is necessary. Okay? I don't think we're gonna stop paving, parking lots and driveways.
Well,
But we're cutting it off for the.
All right, it's the material, not the paving.
If I can just add that there's gonna be a lot of cars turning around, and you don't have porous pavement in areas where you're gonna have a lot of cars turning around.
July
Well,
12th.
Is that the earliest?
That's it.
But the best.
This year. You okay? July 12th?
Are we getting your first?
Excuse me?
Are we getting your first?
We haven't heard the rest of the case yet. We've asked for an architect, we've asked for a fire, report, we've asked.
Landscaping.
Landscaping.
Sign.
And signs.
Are they going?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Do we have a motion to carry this case to July 12th?
Yes.
Yes.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
I'm gonna cut off the meeting. All right, motion to adjourn?
Yes.
If you can make a public announcement, there'll be no further notice.
Yeah, no further notice will be made. Okay, just stay with me a minute. Now, motion to adjourn,
Yes.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Now, if you have questions and you want to yell them out, now I don't care, because I'm not on the record anymore, okay?
You'll be able, if we come back, we're gonna start this over.